of the Penguins.
Only 3 goaltenders in the IHL have played more games this season than Rich Broughton. This will be his 26th of the season, second overall in the I with a 2.27 goals against average. And at the other end, it's Mike Torchia, who has pretty much split time this season with Tim Cheveldae for the Fort Wayne Komets. Torchia 4-7-2 with a 3.58 goals against average. Steve Ludzik knows it's a home game, knows his club is far ahead of Fort Wayne in the point race, but thinks he's got a tough road to get to out of here tonight ahead of him. While John Torchetti is 3-1-1 since taking over back on December the 6th for Fort Wayne in place of Dave Barish. He began the season in San Antonio as the assistant coach under Jeff Brubaker. Denny LaRue is the referee. Dave Cassidy and Russ Johnson are the linesmen, and we're underway as Detroit wins the draw at center. Vipers in their home whites with the red numerals and the aqua trim and their eggplant pants. Dirk moves it ahead at center, and it's dumped in by Ivan Korovo into the Fort Wayne zone. Sean Evans sends it up the far side. Broughton got it to the line, but not out as Dirk kept it in, and now it's flipped past him and out to center ice. Komets in their road blacks with orange and white trim and white numerals. Todd Simon at center for Detroit looking for Korovo. That knocked away by Dupuis. And into the Detroit zone, Shaw wheeling back with it. Headmans it for Korovo, drops it for his centerman Simon. Into the Fort Wayne zone, drop pass to Korovo. Left side, tried to feed it back to the slot, but he was taken out of the play by Liam Garvey, who just held him up. Back come the Komets off the skate of Murphy at Karam's back, and Duncanson rims it around the boards and behind the Detroit net. The K's go for a change. Peter McLaughlin, the Viper rookie defenseman, out of his own zone with Bobby J, the veteran. And to center, Bobby J just steers it into the Fort Wayne zone. This will be touched up by Garvey. And the first whistle of the hockey game, an icing call against Detroit. A minute 3 into it. We talk so much about how the Vipers have a tall order tonight, and Steve Ludzik knows it to try to get a win. Here is why. Key Vipers out of the lineup because of injuries. Ian Herbert's a stalwart on the blue line. The captain, Drulia. Dan Kessel, one of 5 players on the team with 11 goals. And Phil Crow, the plus-minus leader on the hockey club before his elbow injury. And that does not include Sergei Samsonov, the rookie sensation who left yesterday to join the Russian World Junior Championship team, which will take place in the World Junior Tournament beginning December 26th in Geneva.
And Ludzik just trying to come up with the right ingredients. He had players arrive today that weren't even available to skate this morning.
Garvey off the draw, flips it to the far wall. One of those players who was at the morning skate, back with the Vipers after beginning the season there, Steve Walker, and he's got the puck right now at center. Ahead with Ed Ward across the line. Ward will go wide on the right side and dump it all the way across. Walker gets it in the corner, flips it back in down low. Garvey sealed off Ed Ward over to the corner. Savaglia trying to turn away from the check there as he's pinned to the wall by Robin Bawa. Bobby J keeps it in at the point behind the net now for Savaglia. Bawa with the quick pressure on him. Over to squirt free and working right in front with Ward, but Walker unable to pull the trigger. To the line, McLaughlin will get to the right point and keep it in. Ahead for Savaglia. Back to Bobby J. First shot of the game on net, sticked away. And a penalty coming up to Fort Wayne. As Mike Torchia made the first save of the hockey game, but now he'll be forced to look at the first power play of the hockey game. A high sticking penalty that goes against Lee Davidson.
Good forechecking pressure by the Vipers. What we talked about in the opening, big defensive team, rather slow. Caused a lot of problems on the forecheck, cycling the puck down low.
Davidson, the club's leading scorer coming into tonight with only 15 penalty minutes and 29 points. Picks up numbers 16 and 17. And the Fort Wayne penalty kill, which has struggled particularly on the road, has to come out just a minute 52 into it.
That's one thing under Torchetti that's really picked up has been the penalty kill, but that's been at home. They've killed up 24 of the last 25 efforts. Have not been very effective on the road, as we've talked about.
Viper power play ranking in the top third in the IHL. Sets up as Simon off the draw, gets it to the line. Long wrist shot from Donnelly, scores! The traffic in front, and I don't think Torchia ever saw it, creates that one. It took the Vipers 8 seconds on the power play.
We know Mike Donnelly can fire the puck. That one was just had eyes. He just put it on the net, as you said, traffic in front. But good penalty killing usually starts with good goaltending. You want your goaltender to get a piece of that kind of a shot from the blue line.
Donnelly was credited with a goal Friday night at Kansas City that he admitted he did not
shot came to the left of it. He was beaten.
His second as a Viper comes from Savaglia and Simon, and those two have been on a tear recently for Detroit. 1-0 Vipers. Oleg Mikulchik trying to clear out of his own zone and gets a favorable bounce and does. Wristed all the way back in by Stefan Brochu. One of the 3 fresh faces in the Detroit lineup tonight. Appearing in his first game as a Viper, just up from Flint of the Colonial League. At center, Brian Farrell brings it into the Detroit zone, but kicked it offside as Andy Bizzo was unable to regroup and get back into the zone. Donnelly has admitted to me that he thought he put too much pressure on himself early on when he came here. He said he knows Rick Dudley and Steve Ludzik brought him here to score goals. Until tonight, he only had 1 as a Viper, and this is his 9th game in the Eggplant and Aqua.
We've seen him come to life. His first 4 games, he was a little bit tentative. He may have, as you said, put too much pressure on himself. He had a dominating performance. Now he seems to be getting more in the rhythm, settling into the mix.
Thanks for joining us tonight on the Viper Hockey Network. This is the television side, the radio side all season long, 11:30 a.m. WDFN. And greetings to those joining us on the television side on TSN in Canada. Icing call coming up on the Komets as Brad Shaw touches up for Detroit. Shaw has made his mark since having immigration problems early on and then a knee injury. He has missed 15 games this season, but his plus 10 in the 16 he has played. Darren, quick math tells me that's plus 50 if he gets into 80 games over the course of the season.
Well, I know that you spent all afternoon figuring that out, so it wasn't that quick, but it was accurate. And Bradshaw means that much both defensively and as a graphic illustrated, gets it done offensively as well.
And I know you like to talk about plus-minus numbers as, well, they may sound impressive, but how do they compare on your team? Coming into tonight, the Viper plus-minus leader, departed rookie Sergei Samsonov at plus 13. He had appeared in all 31 games coming into tonight. In half those games, Shaw right on his tail. Play in the Detroit zone. Burton digging along the back wall, frees it up for Duncanson. Craig Duncanson trying to find somebody in front. Everybody's behind the goal line. Did get it to Burton, and he scored. And that's why Paul Burton leads his team in goals and has been as consistent as he has. First shot of the hockey game for Fort Wayne finds the twine.
Craig Duncanson a lot of credit. Bradshaw caught in between a 2-on-1 down low. Burton coming off the half wall had all kinds of time. There was a miscommunication with the forward.
Patrice Tardif is also caught below the goal line. The Vipers had 2 defenders below the goal line. That usually spells trouble. Fort Wayne had 3 attackers below the goal line, and I think that's what began the confusion for Detroit in their defensive zone.
A reverse 3-on-2, if you will, starting from behind the goal line.
Creates the opening, and it creates the 11th of the year for Burton. The Komets have been known to be in some high-flying affairs earlier this season. And on January 17th, Kenny G and Tony Braxton called Palace Box Office Ready Ticketmaster for ticket information. Viper penalty going against Michel Mongeau, and a break for Detroit. As the holding penalty begins, an icing call on Fort Wayne. Robert Dirk touches up. Mongeau was questionable for tonight's game. He had been rather sick at this morning's skate, thought he might have had a touch of food poisoning, and told me before today's game as he showed up that he felt a lot better. And obviously in the fix that Steve Ludzik is in, I'm sure he said to Monge before the game, if you can go, I need you. And the veteran responding by donning the gear and being in the lineup. Viper penalty kill has moved up a great deal of late in the league, and it has also produced 2 shorthanded goals in their last 3 games, both off the stick of Todd Simon.
In that last 10 games, almost at 90%, allowing them to move up in the rankings overall.
Brad Shaw deflecting the pass through center into the crowd. Todd Simon, interestingly enough, wearing the captaincy tonight in place of Stan Bruglia, as opposed to maybe moving an A off of jersey, putting a C on it, and then putting an A on another jersey. I think this was the prudent sewing move, if nothing else, for equipment manager Rich Matthews. Simon, a veritable youngster on this Viper Hockey Club, getting the captaincy, at least for a game.
A stitch in time, is that what you're going to say?
A 5-year veteran, but I'll tell you what, he sits near the front of the bus and in the front of the plane, because he's got a lot of tenure ahead of him. Puck driven around the boards into the Detroit zone. Fort Wayne's first power play of the night. Shaw, as it comes back around, got And Dirk able to clear. Speaking of veterans, Robert Dirk, along with Shaw, the defensive pairing for the Detroit penalty kill. It's Savaglia and Walker right now up front, and they're giving Fort Wayne problems. Sean Evans able to headman it at center for John LeBlanc. He finally dumps it in. Off the back wall, handled by Perrant to the corner. Dirk rims it around, and that's kicked back into the zone at the line. Loose high in the zone, and Walker will just play it off the boards back to the Fort Wayne zone. And Evans tripping over an ice gopher will go to the bench for a change.
He did. He lost a wheel there. Having all kinds of trouble with nobody around him.
40 seconds to go in the power play for the Komets. McCoolchick brings it to the Detroit line, deflected in off the stick of Garvey. Sent back to the corner. Bobby J takes his time and sends it the length of the ice. The former Comet, Bobby J, remember their last Turner Cup championship team. The 92-93 version of the Komets. Back to center, one last rush for the Comet power play. Murphy cutting in off right wing, and it knocked off his stick. Driven around the boards. This will come out as Detroit's Jeff Parrott clears. And that'll pretty much do it for the penalty to Mongeau. Garvey hustling back to get it, but the final seconds wind down. He steps out of the box, and both teams are full strength. McCoolchick with a long drive in off the blocker of Perrant. Around the boards near side as Fort Wayne finishes a change. Shaw gets it across the line to Mongeau. Jumps to the hole. Backhander. Score! Boy, Torchia fought that one all the way until it was back in front of him off the back of the net. And I think from the look on your face, you're not sure how that one got by him.
Well, Mike Mongeau showing what a veteran will do. Getting himself in the play as soon as possible, reading the play. Dave Keon couldn't have done it better. Backhand on the short side. Beautiful shot. It's the kind that you want your goaltender to make, but what a terrific shot. Short side up over the catching arm.
So the Vipers add the lead back at 2-1. And Shaw collects it and takes it behind the Detroit net off the face-off. For Mongeau, his 12th of the year, he now regains the club lead in goals. He had it earlier this season, then went through a span of 8 games in which he scored only 1. Ward hustles to the right wing corner in after it. Gagnon plays it around and away as it's in the Fort Wayne zone. Harkins kicks at it, comes to the point. Fired on net by Brochu and covered up by Torchia. It'll be Detroit Newspapers Family Night coming up this Friday at the Palace when the Vipers host Kansas City, and it's a great deal for just $45. You get 4 tickets, 4 soft drinks, 4 hot dogs, a tub of corn, and your choice of 2 Viper t-shirts or hats. Call the Palace box office for more information. The number 810-377-0100. A one-time Fort Wayne Comet, Stefan Brochu, filling a gap on defense for the Vipers tonight. Just made the 40-mile drive down I-75 from the Colonial League to the IHL. Stepping right in. The Vipers have gone their last 2 games with only 5 dressed defensemen. One of those being rookie Peter McLaughlin. Here's a giveaway at the blue line. Cutting in hard, Robin Bawa stuffs it through. Rich Perrant, we're tied again.
Well, the forwards are doing a good job of getting a half step or a step on the defenseman, but the goaltenders are having a hard time finding the handle on the puck here. Neither able to get a real good clean touch.
Bawa will get the unassisted marker at 10-14. And he did all the work indeed.
Donnelly came back on the backcheck late, but Detroit uncharacteristically turned that puck over dangerously at their blue line. Led to the turnover. Bawa went in relatively unmolested until Donnelly got there too late.
So 2 Viper 1-goal leads evaporate quickly, and now Simon dumps it in offside. Tardif had thought he was going to dump it earlier, and he was a good 20 feet into the zone. Just past the halfway mark of the opening period. We only have a combined 10 shots on goal in the hockey game, but we got 4 goals already.
Rich Bryant played so well this season. He's had a little more trouble at home, unfortunately, than he has on the road, and we'll speak to that in a little bit.
plays it away from the forecheck as Murphy is in, and he knocks it down in the corner. Bobby Jay's on his hip. Puck below the goal line, stuck on the back of the net. Murphy and Jay still battling. Murphy wins that. Got it in front from McLaughlin coming back. Now retreats behind his net and rims it around the boards. Broughton able to knock it down. It was kept in. Now breaking away at center. Corvo just couldn't quite get the handle as Gagnon brings him all the way to the near wall. Tardif digs along the boards at it, and now they'll freeze it for a face-off. 8:57 to go in the first, tied at 2.
Drink Bud Ice, but beware the penguins.
Hey, Mom and Dad, looking for great family entertainment and an affordable price? Then load up the kids and come to a Detroit newspaper Vipers Family Night. Get fun, exciting professional hockey for one low price. Get 4 tickets, 4 dogs, 4 coats, a tub of corn, and 2 t-shirts or hats. Detroit Vipers Hockey, where family entertainment and action-packed hockey come together. The next Detroit Vipers Family Night is Friday, December 20th at 7:30 versus the Kansas City Flags, presented by Detroit Newspapers. For more information, just call the Palace.
Young Rich Perron has been very good overall this season, but somewhat alarmingly to Coach Lutzig, much better on the road, which isn't the problem. It's why the differential at home. And you can see here tonight, just doesn't seem to be quite as comfortable, especially in staking his team to an early lead. They've been able to fall behind and not hold these early leads, causing problems. Tough to win at home when you do that.
Yeah, the major difference is in the save percentage that you notice, more so than the goals against it. Is sparkling either way. Banks and Bezo talking it over, rim of the circle. The two respective penalty minute leaders for their clubs. Bezo not leading Fort Wayne right now, but would were it not for an early season injury that has cost him about 15 games. Led the IHL last year, and he has drawn his second penalty of the game as Banks is going to go off here. And that is one thing. You got a man with 590 penalty minutes as Perron touches up, who led the IHL a year ago in Andy Bezo. And you may think, well, he's a detriment. You talked about some of the penalty minute leaders on this team for Fort Wayne and whether it's smart to play the aggressive style they do. I think when you're talking about Andy Bezo, it is, because you and I saw it last year. He may have nearly 600 penalty minutes, but he draws a lot of penalties as well.
That number, you're hearing it correctly, almost 600 minutes in penalties last year for Andy Bezo. But Fort Wayne was 8-1 against Detroit last season, in large part due to the fact that Bezo seemed to be able to get under the skin of these Vipers. In this shift, it happened to be Darren Banks. Throws Detroit off their game. Bezo doesn't score a lot, but he is a factor and has been a real factor against Detroit.
So Steve Ludzik will watch his club go shorthanded for the second time tonight. The Vipers would like to thank Visual Designs for their support of tonight's game. The Visual Designs provided tonight's opening animation. For all your animation needs and graphics expertise, call them at 800-842-6604. 8:33 to go in the first, tied at 2. Penalty to Banks. Putting the Vipers down a man, and now Mongeau chased from the circle. Shaw, Dirk, and Tardif round out the Viper penalty kill. And Evans at the line, had his shot deflected right on by Davidson. Still loose as he got another whack at it. Bawa goes to the front of the net. Guy Dupuis bumped hard on the far wall, able to keep it inside of the net. Shaw knocks it away, comes right back to him. He turns to the corner, uses the boards, but fails to clear as Dupuis stepped up. He jam at it along the far side. To the line, Davidson moves it across. The open man is Evans. Evans back to the middle. Davidson's drive, that went wide. Near side and covered by Perron as he sprawls back to smother the puck. Half a minute gone, and the penalty to Darren Banks. And the face-off will stay deep in the Detroit zone.
Thus far, the game Fort Wayne's liking a little bit ragged. Detroit seems a little thrown off by the early goals given up by Perron. He just needs to steady himself and get in that rhythm as he did in Kansas City. 33 save performance matching his season high. And that's the difference on the road. He's been able to really protect leads, close games, whereas at home he seems to give up goals early. Detroit not able to get into their good forechecking rhythm because they're playing from behind.
Now, the high-flying style has to favor Fort Wayne tonight, as well as when you consider the Viper D has been a little bit short-handed of late. As I mentioned, last two outings, both on the road, they went with 5 dress D, and down the stretch, really played only 4 as McLaughlin was spotted. Tonight they have 6, and one of them being McLaughlin, the other being Brochu, who's never played a game with this club. So fatigue could be a factor as Detroit plays their 3rd in 5 days with a pretty short-handed blue line core. Good puck movement from Fort Wayne as Dupuis gets it top of the near circle now for Evans. Spins it down low. LeBlanc bumps over. Bawa jams it through. Davidson sent it back in front, and Jeff Parrott got there to knock it away. Bobby J sends it up the wall and out.
You make an excellent point, John, about the decimated defensive core of Detroit. Steve Leslie was talking to you earlier before the game about this being a television game, being able to use some of the timeouts to rest his players.
First time I've ever had a hockey coach tell me that he was going to work the clock. Sometimes you see it done in the 3rd period when maybe a team has a lead, particularly on the road, but when it's part of your game plan before he even step out onto the ice.
Well, it allows him to shorten his bench and go with his key guys more with the extra timeout.
Liam Garvey moves it to the near corner into the Detroit zone. Final seconds of the Fort Wayne power play as it ends up behind the net. Burton leaves it there for Duncanson. All the way out to the right point. Garvey, final seconds, sends it down low. Again, Duncanson centering pass broken up. Out of the box is Banks, and will be carried to center ice. And in now by Tardif. Patrice Tardif, right side. Bumped by McCoolchick, and then bumped again as he keeps it alive along the wall. Right point, Bobby J leans into one. Stick save rebound right there for Banks, and that chopped away as Garvey just got a piece of his stick. Broughton and Banks collide below the goal line. The Komets try to clear, and they do. Bobby J knocked it down, but couldn't keep it in. McLaughlin hammers it back in as the Vipers touch up. Behind the net, Torchia stick handles and throws it to the line. Bobby J knocked it down, drove it over top of the net. Puck cleared up the firewall. This will be an icing call on Fort Wayne as Bobby J is back to touch up. Boy, Mike Torchia that time nearly cost himself. He didn't really go up the middle with it, but he went right to Bobby J. And one of only 3 Vipers to see action this season in now all 32 of their games. He made a bid for his 2nd goal of the year.
Not sure what Torchia's plan was there. First, he serves up a rebound in the slot, everything on a silver platter. Then he shoots it back to Bobby J. Bobby rips it. Torchia scrambling to get back into his cage. Lucky for him, that shot sailed high at the crossbar.
Bobby would have gotten that shot off quicker had he gotten the puck to settle down. You could see it was on edge, and he finally said, enough's enough. I'm just going to take this shot and see where it goes. He would have liked that puck to lay down for him, and perhaps he could have kept it lower because Torchia was still scrambling, as you said, just to get back into his net. It was almost an early Christmas for the Burlington, Massachusetts native. Vipers win the draw, and Brochu at the point does a nice job to keep it in. Gagnon behind the net. Bump there as Donnelly came in after it. Far side, Mongeau and Donnelly now battle for it, and Donnelly dug it out. Got it to the line for Parrott. Wrist shot, juggled, and mishandled by Torchia, who comes out to send it around the glass and out himself. Donnelly gets to it, back in the Detroit zone. Around near side, Bashkirov rolls it to the Fort Wayne line. Mongeau in on the one-man forecheck. Vipers finish a change. Just barely. And now a penalty coming up to Fort Wayne. Parrott brings it into the Fort Wayne zone. To Mongeau between the circles. Oh, tried to set up Donnelly. And that was just poked away by McCoolchick. Vipers on the power play when we come back. All even at 2.
Get ready for game night. Game night on Pass. Home team coverage like never before. Coming January 4th, only on Pass Sports.
Full court pressure employed. It'll run some time off. Burrell has to hurry. Into the front court with 8 seconds to play. Looking for Zobrist. This is Rigby with 4 seconds. Rigby forces it up. Rigby with a miss. Rigby blocked by Taylor. Maurice Taylor with a game-saving block. And the Michigan Wolverines hang on in overtime to turn back the stubborn Bradley Braves 66-64.
Talked about Andy Bizzo. Swinging beeline to the bench. Ike Corvo coming off the Viper bench. A very dirty play, knee on knee. That much more dangerous since Ike Corvo has missed so many games this year with that lower stomach abdominal muscle. Put himself in a very, very tenuous situation there.
Kneeing is the call. And Detroit with their second power play tied at 2. It took only 8 seconds to score on their only shot of their previous power play opportunity. Shaw, Savaglia, Donnelly, Corvo, and Simon for the Detroit power play. Corvo nearly fed Donnelly alone at the far post. Komets able to collect it and rip it the length of the ice, courtesy of Liam Garvey. Brad Shaw back to get it from behind the Detroit net. The player assistant coach stick handles to center, gets the red line, and hammers it in. Simon far side keeps it alive for Corvo. McCoolchick comes over. Simon with puck support to the line for Shaw. He won't get there though, and the Vipers forced to touch up. This pass errant comes back into the zone, and the Vipers now just get a change while they're at it because McCoolchick easily ices it. Bobby J comes on for him. Ward also joins the Detroit extra man unit. Stick handling into the zone as Donnelly leaves it for Simon at the left point. Saucer pass bounces over Bobby J's stick, but he gets to the point in time to keep it in. Ward sends it down low. Savaglia trying to get it back to him. Dug out by Mongeau. All the way back top of the circle. Donnelly with a wrister that went over top of the net. Bobby J pitches off the right point. 25 seconds to go in the power play, and a quick whistle as they freeze the puck along the wall, and the linesman forced to intervene as everyone steps in to join the fray. Tomorrow the New York Knicks will be at the Palace to take on the Detroit Pistons, and the first 5,000 fans receive a Skybox card. Excuse me, a Skybox card pack, compliments to the Skybox company.
A lot of anticipation with that game.
The return of Allen Houston to the Palace. It's the return of John Torchia to the Palace. In November, he came here as an assistant coach with the San Antonio Dragons of the IHL. 2 years prior to that, he'd been the head coach of the Central League's San Antonio Iguanas. So while he didn't change cities, it was a change of scenery. And now a real change for him as he goes to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and tries to resurrect a team with a great history. 50 years of IHL history behind this Komet club. And they're not that far out of the playoff picture either. Despite what was at one point a 13-game winless streak, they're only 5 points out of what would be the 8th and final playoff position in the Eastern Conference. Now, right now they are 3 seconds away from killing Detroit's second power play. Savaglia chips it back into the Fort Wayne zone as Bizzo comes out of the box. Both teams now full strength. Savaglia works it along the back wall, near side for Tardif. Back to the line for Shaw. His one-timer didn't have much on it, went wide. Evans after it to the corner. Tardif digs it free. Davidson coming back, backhands it to the line, over Brochu, and back into the Detroit zone. Shaw backing with it, through it to center. Broughton couldn't play it. He had a man caught in the zone. I think Detroit had too many men on the ice for a long, long time, and now it may have been whistled down. Broughton turned the puck over right in front of the Detroit bench as the Vipers were trying to make a defensive change. Fort Wayne had sent the puck in. The Vipers quickly sent it back out, and then when Broughton turned it over, they played it, and I think Detroit had too many men on the ice for a good 5-6 seconds. Now, you talked about my math skills earlier, but let's see if we can count to 5 and maybe more.
When the puck came over in front of the Viper bench, it did look like...
Here's where Broughton now says, I can't go in. There's Banks coming over the boards, So does Simon. Shaw was back in the defensive zone. There's another right there. 4, 5, 6, maybe more.
It looked like a train station at rush hour. Guys coming and going.
Well, Chinese fire drill or not, you only get 2 minutes. It doesn't matter whether you have 8 guys on or 6. You still only get 2 minutes. And the bench minor whistled on Detroit at 17:37, and Darren Banks will serve it. Banks, who leads the Vipers in penalty minutes coming into tonight, has 129 now. No stranger to that position. Tied at 2. Just over 2 to go, first period. At the line, Komets keep it in. Duncanson sent it across. Dupuis rims it around. Now Evans sends it back down low for Burton. He with one of the 2 Komet goals. Puck squirts free. Dupuis steps over, switching places with Evans. Now point coverage comes from Duncanson. Big trouble for Detroit. Tardif without a stick. Komets would be smart to try to work something this time. Dupuis from the line. Now Tardif gets another stick. Evans shovels it across. Murphy bangs away at the rebound. Still loose in front. Vipers stuff it underneath their netminder, and Burton closes the legs.
Give Fort Wayne credit. They did recognize the weakness. Stick being out of play, they attacked that side of the ice.
Face-off will be to the left of Burton. $1:35 to go in the opening period. 1:12 and the penalty to Darren Banks.
Rich Burton held his ground in his customary V style, butterfly style, able to keep that puck out. A couple of the biggest saves of the first period for him.
8th save of the period for Rich Burton. Coming up in our first intermission, we'll visit with that man, Darren Banks. Returning to the IHL after a couple of years off. Been an integral part of the Vipers this season. And the Vipers throw it into the crowd off the face-off. Steve Walker doing the duties that time. Face-off will stay in the Detroit zone. Walker began the season here in Detroit on a 25-game tryout, produced just a goal and 3 assists in 17 games, and has returned twice for spot duty due to injuries from the Flint Generals of the Colonial League.
Just hasn't been able to get on track this season after being a scorer in the Colonial League last year with 100 points.
Played with the Muskegon Fury last year in the Colonial League, but Flint is the affiliate for Detroit. Now finds himself playing for the Generals. Winnie's in the Colonial League. Davidson down low for LeBlanc as Fort Wayne sets up on the power play. Inside a minute to go in the man advantage. Dupuis calling for it at the line. Now sets it up the right wing half wall. Cutting off the other point was Evans. Puck came right to the slot and forced to make a point blank save that time. Burton, lucky for him, it fell right in front of him, and he was able to cover it with the trapper. Robin Bawa making a bid for his second tonight.
Excellent reaction save by Rich Burton. He was playing that pass to go all the way across the zone. It got stopped in the slot, and he reacted to it. See right there, Dirk makes the save. Burton was looking for the point man slipping down across the zone.
Bawa does the prudent thing. He gets the quick shot off, and that so often is the most important ingredient in scoring a goal. 42 seconds left in the penalty being served by Banks. And now just a minute to go in the period. Komets have been able to keep it in the Detroit zone. Garvey working the left point. Shovels it up the wall. Comes back to him on one hop. And again does a nice job to keep it in for Davidson. Davidson comes in. On left wing. Sharp angle shot. And Burton almost sneaking off his post. Had that one hit him. And a good effort by Donnelly. Diving to poke it free. Final 15 seconds of the power play. Davidson sends it across. A LeBlanc shot deflected over top of the net by a sprawling Rich Burton. Back up the wall. Donnelly got to it. Didn't get it out. Bounces off a glove. Now comes back to Bawa. Just rifles it right on. And the save made by Burton as the penalty being served by Banks expired.
A great exhibition of why good penalty killing a lot of times starts with goaltending. Rich Burton shaky the first 10 minutes. Keeping this game at 2-2 in this last minute and a half of this period.
Fort Wayne with a 14-8 shot advantage through the first period that has just 23.7 seconds remaining.
That's a rarity in and of itself.
Detroit gives up the fewest shots on goal per game in the IHL. At 26.4, they've already given up over half of that as they have now rung another one up for the Komets, make it 15 for the Caves.
And again, we talked about it in the opening patchwork lineup here for Steve Ludzik tonight. Some of these things that have occurred in the first period, not totally unexpected.
Off the draw, shot from the point, wide off the stick of Sean Gagnon, and Tardif got it ahead for Ward. He failed to clear. Final 10 seconds of the period as puck is kicked along the wall and finally collected over to the near side by Tardif, bothered by Bezo, ever present, ever hard working, and finally Detroit able to clear. And that'll do it for the first period of play. Steve Ludzik knew it was going to be a battle tonight, and that's what he has on his hands after 20 minutes of play. Shaky starts for both Mike Torchia and Rich Perrott, but they settle down the stretch. And we're all even after 20 minutes of play at the Palace of Auburn Hills. The Komets with just 9 wins this season, last overall in the Eastern Conference, giving the second-ranked team in the IHL all they want so far. Tied at 2. And we'll be back with more from the Palace after this.
Betty, give me a Vernon.
You got it.
Verner's taste you can feel.
I'd like to see your music department.
Nice, huh?
That's it.
Heck, no. We just added a new wing. It's even got a second floor.
Forget it, honey. I'm going to Harmony House.
It's anybody's guess who's in the music business. Video stores, bookstores, appliance stores. But one thing's for sure. Harmony House is the 100% music store because music is all we do.
They give you R-E-S-P-C-T.
We have far more in common on the inside than we do on the outside. What I try to do is write about the things we have in common on the inside. I wrote a column about baking bread, and 2 days later in the mail came a big box from an 83-year-old man in Marysville containing 8 loaves of fresh-baked bread, straight from his heart. My readers give me immediate response, uncensored, heartfelt reaction. That's where the joy is.
A 2-2 tie after 20 minutes of play at the Palace of Auburn Hills. The Detroit Vipers and Fort Wayne Komets deadlocked with 2 to go, maybe more. John Allers alongside Darren Elliott back with you at the Palace. A rarity in the opening period as the Vipers are outshot by Fort Wayne 15-8. And the Komets, I think, have to be happy, John Torchetti especially, coming into this building and getting the job done in the first 20 minutes.
As we talked about coming out of that first period, not totally unexpected by Coach Steve Ludzik. I think Coach Torchetti not convinced that his goaltender Torchia has settled down enough. We'll see.
Well, the Vipers getting some looks at some players. We saw Stefan Brochu on defense getting a chance to go as well. We saw Bashkirov, also a youngster up from the East Coast League, getting some time. Be interesting to see how much Ludzik uses them as we go along. But right now we're going to go downstairs to the veritable veteran who's been with the Vipers all season long. Darren Banks joins us. And Darren returns to the IHL after a couple of years off. Darren, a lot of people thought when they saw your name on the training camp roster for the Vipers that this guy's a training camp invitee, but you've invited yourself for the whole season. Has to make you feel good that you kind of put the doubters behind you.
Oh yeah, it's great to be back in the I again, and this is a real good team. I'm close to home, and I just love playing here. I'm so happy to get an opportunity to play back here again.
Tie between the Fort Wayne Komets and Detroit Vipers after 20 minutes of play at the Palace of Auburn Hills. It did not take long for the scoring to start, and it didn't take long for a power play to begin. At the 1:52 mark, Detroit went on the power play. 8 seconds later, they took the lead.
Goaltender Torchia unable to find this puck 55 feet away from him. Donnelly decides to put it at the net. He guessed wrong. He looked on the wrong side of the screen. Puck eludes him.
The assist to Simon and Savaglia, but Paul Broughton would answer back just a minute 22 later from Craig Duncanson.
Good work down low by Fort Wayne. Shaw was caught in between. Slow rotation by the forward. Broughton was able to walk off the wall, off the half wall, and beat Rich Perron on the short side.
Walking literally off the wall out of the box after serving a penalty was Michel Mongeau moments later at 9:22. He was the recipient of assists from Tardif and Shaw to give Detroit a 2-1 lead.
Well, John, when you made the original call on this goal, Mongeau coming out of the box, recognizing the situation that if he jumped into the play, he would create an outnumbered attack, and then one of the best backhands I've seen all season long.
Detroit's lead again, however, would not last long. In fact, it wouldn't last a minute. Robin Bawa answering back 52 seconds later unassisted, and we are all even at 2.
We said at the time, uncharacteristic of Detroit turning the puck over in the danger zone at their own blue line. This is what led to the play. Confusion at the blue line. Bawa is on the correct side of the pile. An effort by Donnelly. Bawa able to outmuscle him and beat Rich Perron.
That entire play began, though, when one of the newcomers, Bashkarov, appeared to be confused as to where he needed to be. Puck actually hit his skate and created the turnover. The perhaps most alarming statistic you'll see here, the shots on goal favoring Fort Wayne 15-8 by nearly a 2-1 margin, and the quality chance is the same.
I look at those stats, and that is something we haven't seen with the Vipers all season. We look at the face-offs, we look at the power play shots on goal, dominated by Fort Wayne. I think what Darren Banks spoke to in the interview, we'll see a much different Viper team here in the second period.
A couple of footnotes on the assists of the goals for Steve Ludzik's club in that opening period. Todd Simon now with a 6-game scoring streak as he assisted on Donnelly's goal at the 2-minute mark. And Brad Shaw now with a 7-game assist streak as he had one of the two helpers on Mongeau's goal at 9:22. And that length of an assist streak now equals the longest in the IHL all season. As Shaw's is a 7-game current string. Earlier this year, Rob Brown of Chicago and Brian Felsner of Orlando each had 7-game schemes. And an icing call right off the faceoff on Fort Wayne as the second period is underway. Shaw has exactly 1 assist in 7 straight games, so he has 7 in those 7 games.
Not wasting the effort of
No, not at all. Simon also not only with a 6-game scoring streak, but a 6-game assist streak as well. That is the second current longest assist streak in the league. He has turned it up of late. The Vipers were a team that at one point was the number 2 team in the IHL and had nobody in the top 20 in scoring. Simon entered tonight 14th in the league. Savaglia coming into tonight number 9 in the IHL. Simon trying to knock down the clearing attempt as it came out of the Fort Wayne zone, and then Shaw inadvertently flops it into his bench. Talked about Simon heating it up lately. Of course, Pete Savaglia has done the same. And the Vipers considered by many to have the best 3 centers in the IHL when you throw Michel Mongeau into that mix. Have seen great play out of a couple of them of late.
Strength down the middle, and what it really speaks to is that balanced attack. Scoring across the board, all 3 lines capable, led by the centerman.
18 points between the two in the last 5 games. That's the sort of production that you can learn to live with. Deflection as the puck comes through center ice, so the Vipers have to play it. No icing, and Shaw headmans it now for Simon. Hits the red line, got it into the Fort Wayne zone. Hard on the forecheck, as always, Ivan Korobov, but played away, and Broughton plays it off the skate of Simon. And swept into the Detroit zone by Rob Murphy. A change for the Komets on the go as Perron stops it, and Shaw drives it wide of the mark, the length of the ice. Racing after it, Ed Ward, but it's touched up first by Liam Garvey, and icing is the call. And you may say to yourself, that looked like an odd play. That's a play that works well over 50% of the time for Brad Shaw. Realizing his team wants and needs a change, he'll drive the puck about 125 feet on net, and is usually very accurate with that. He just missed that time.
He hooked his drive into the rough, missed the cage, face off now in his own zone.
A log jam at the top of the Detroit goal chart coming into tonight has been alleviated by Michel Mongeau's goal earlier, but you look at that list and you see Dan Kessa and Sergei Samsonov, 2 of the 5 players who entered tonight with 11 goals. They are out of the lineup. Kessa due to injury, and Samsonov because he has been called by his country to participate in the World Juniors. many Vipers that are out of the lineup, Ian Herbers, Dan Kessa, and all. I think a lot of it for them is the fact that they are not going to be seen back at home. A lot of the players telling me before the game, are you going to say hi to my folks? They get to see me play for one of the few times, and I know Dan Kessa particularly really disappointed to not be able to play, as his family all the way back in Vancouver would have had a chance to see him play tonight.
We were probably fielding requests. I know everybody was getting pumped up for the broadcast last week as well as this week, and all of the IHL games will be carried on TSN.
Vipers responded with an 8-1 shellacking of Manitoba last week in this same situation. Hasn't been as easy tonight. Bashkarov fitted in front, and that deflected right on by Mongeau, as Torchia had to be quick to make that save. Well, you can see this Bashkarov knows how to score. Now he runs it down on the far side, heads right to the net, let it go, and that went just wide. Pitching his Brochu off the left point. Bouncing puck that Bashkarov nearly kept in. Vipers feed it back in, and McDonald knocks that down. For Gagnon. Turned over outside the line. Donnelly for Bashkarov. Back to Donnelly. Back for Bashkarov. Broken up. Mongeau rips it right on, and a save by Torchia.
That's some of the pressure we expected the Vipers to be able to get with the reconstituted lineup or not. This Fort Wayne team very suspect in their own zone, as witnessed right there. Torchia making two of his best saves of the night.
Boy, and Andrei Bashkarov around all the chances. The leading scorer for the Huntington Blizzard of the East Coast Hockey League, he was setting them up and taking them that time.
I don't know if Mongeau realized how much time he had on that little backhand play, and then Donnelly with a cute little play that got intercepted. Mongeau there to pick up the loose puck, fired at point-blank range on Torchia.
Steve Ludzik told me before tonight's game with the short-handed bench he had, he was going to shake things up and look to spot lines. I think he may put Bashkarov, Mongeau, and Donnelly back out there together again.
As if Ludzik doesn't do that anyway, even with his regular lineup.
Puck bounces right to the slot, and spinning and firing it wide. That time horrible. He just missed. Vipers all over the Fort Wayne zone right now. They're buzzing the net. Simon on a wraparound, and that went right through the crease. Komets would be prudent just to ice it. Broughton gets it out, and Shaw hinging back handles it. Steps to the red line and golfs it in. Around the dasher it comes. Broughton looks, gets the pressure from Simon. Hit from behind by Corvo. That's going to be a penalty on Detroit. I don't know if the Komets realize it yet. Now they do. They play it to the line, and as it's touched up, the penalty will be whistled. Early in the second, and the Komets to the power play when we come back in a tie hockey game.
Picture this. Two eye care experts with the insight to work as one. That's the new partnership between Henry Ford Health System and First Optometry. Together, they offer you the combined power of optometry and ophthalmology. From glasses and contact lenses to full-service medical eye care. And with the power of two, the advantages are plain to see. Henry Ford and First Optometry. The power of two working together for you.
What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of breast cancer? Afraid you just can't quit? Are you afraid of the asthma medications you give your child? Or that you may have waited too long to have children? What are you afraid of? Care Choices covers a variety of routine medical services without hassles or extra costs, because we don't believe this should be among your fears. Care Choices HMO, breaking down the barriers to good health.
Dominant shift by the Vipers, board checking, led by Ike Corvo. Little too aggressive on Paul Broughton. Gets the cross check in the small of the back. Sends Broughton to the ice. Sends Corvo to the box.
11th game back for Corvo. He's chipped in with 4 goals since returning after missing the first 21 games of the season. Due to that abdominal muscle groin injury that he really carried over from the end of last season. He's also picked up 12 penalty minutes now, including those 2, and the Komets having trouble getting through the neutral zone will try to reset from their own zone. 0 for 3 on the power play thus far tonight are the Komets as they wrap it around and into the Detroit zone. Dirk reverses it, Shaw gets to it, goes up the middle, that's broken up by Gagnon. Between the circles, Bawa can't handle it, to the line, Evans keeps it in, trying to feed it down low for LeBlanc. Poked away and now chased down by Dirk far side. Dupuis backhands it ahead. Walker took a swing at it but didn't get it out. down by Sean Evans on the right wing board. At the hash mark, sends it down low. Davidson's stick handles with it there, bothered by Shaw. And I believe a penalty coming up here. And I think this is going to be coincidentals for slashing on Shaw and Davidson. I was not sure whether Denny LaRue had just Brad Shaw at first on that. But indeed, he'll take them both.
I was on the same wavelength as you. If he was going to take Brad Shaw off alone, I was going to be very surprised because Denny LaRue is the best referee in the IHL. And that would have been a very suspect call at this time.
Kind of a one-on-one battle along the corner. Shaw with the first slash, and then when Davidson returned the favor, LaRue said that's enough. He was going to let the first one go.
Yes, he was.
They're back. See them on the American Music Awards Monday, January 27th, and soon after, see them at the Palace. I have trouble reading it because I have no idea what it means. We'll have to wait and see. Komets still on the power play as the shot from the line off Evans' stick didn't get through traffic. Still loose off the side of the net in behind the cage. Turning with it is Burton in the left wing corner. Sends it low, gets it back from Duncanson, fires it across Murphy. Now to the line for Dupuis with a drive, save Burton, rebound, jammed right back into him by Craig Duncanson. You can see Duncanson's shoulders drop a little bit in the disappointment as to where he put that rebound after Perrant held on.
Well, Dunk's a former teammate of mine. He was a first-round pick of Los Angeles back in the mid-'80s.
So he must be really old.
He's getting there.
Played with you.
He played with me. This is why he wasn't able to stick in the National Hockey League. Plays just like that, hitting the goalie in the crest on a doorstep rebound.
Let's give credit to Duncanson. He's still a good 3 months away from his 30th birthday.
Like I said, he's catching up to me.
He just went by 30, right?
Yeah, the wind whipped it. Whipped by 30.
Whipped right in front. Burton scores off the post and in. His second of the night, and the Komets finally convert on the power play, and they have their first lead.
You saw the power play shots on goal at the end of the first, 6 of them. They're getting the looks they want, and they're getting a lot of pressure right on the doorstep of Rich Perrant. Good puck movement here, off the pipe. Another good shot by Burton. Quick release. No chance for Rich Perrant.
Well, Duncanson fed it to him in front, but as they give us these assists, we don't see his number on there, and that's highway robbery if that's the case. 12th of the year for Burton gives the Komets the lead. You talked about their power play shots. One of the reasons, and you mentioned it there on the goal, they have had good puck movement on the power play all night tonight. If they continue to move the biscuit like that, it's just a matter of time.
We've seen Burton on both his goals. He knows what to do with the puck when he gets in that range. They're going to have to close him and not give him so much room in the offensive zone.
McCoolchik picks up 1 assist. They gave the other one to Rob Murphy, but there's a Duncanson assist change coming somewhere because there's no way he can't get a helper there. Brochu misses Corbo at center and sends it deep into the Fort Wayne zone. Well, it had been a good start to the second period for Detroit, but now they find themselves down a goal. And Simon's long shot through traffic, nearly boxed into the net that time by Torchia as he was very deep in his crease. Komets clear to center, and the Vipers forced to touch up. Ward at the blue line, and he gets help from Simon, who throws it up the open left wing. And they have now made that assist correction, taking it away from Murphy and giving it to Duncanson. We were hard enough on him that shift.
I was going to say, I was kind of having some fun with Dunk there. I said that he's not in the National Hockey League, he's in the IHL. Well, I'm in the broadcast booth, so we can see what's going on there.
And a penalty coming up on Sean Gagnon in the corner as he took Steve Walker to the boards pretty hard. Take your pick there. That could be a cross-check, could be boarding. And it looks as if Walker's feeling the effects a little bit. The IHL's penalty minute leader will add to his 193 minutes as he'll get 2 here, I believe, for a cross-check. No, they're going to call boarding.
Burton could have been cross-checking, as you said, John. But it definitely was ill-advised. His team just takes the lead. That's how you lead the league in penalties. Sometimes those kinds of calls are ill-advised. Sean Gagnon not really showing very good restraint there.
Over 300 minutes in each of his last 2 seasons in the East Coast League, and Gagnon easily on a pace to duplicate that as he nears 200 here tonight. I mistakenly thought he had his stick on the back of Walker. He just had him wrapped up and shoved him into the glass. So make it 195 and make the Viper power play unit fresh on the ice. Savaglia wins the draw. To the left point, Shaw as they'll overload this side of the zone for Simon. Simon leads the club in power play goals with 5, and as he gives it back to Shaw, he loses the handle. And the Vipers now must touch up, but they turn it over in the neutral zone. Long wrist shot gloved off as Duncanson got it on net, and Perrant has no option, and he's forced to hold on. The Vipers have joined forces with the Detroit News in its Helping Hands holiday program. For every Viper goal scored during tonight's game, Palace Sports and Entertainment will donate $100 towards the purchase of items for families in the Metro Detroit area. For more information on the Helping Hands program, call 313-222-2270. And Steve Ludzik hopes the donation is much more than $200 at this point in time.
You and that quick math again.
I've told you before, life is just one big math test. Behind the net, Brad Shaw as Detroit starts out with 1.5 minutes to go in the power play. At center, drives it into the Fort Wayne zone. Corvo in hard on the forecheck. Goes down in a heap in the corner. Savaglia kicking along the wall has help. And Simon digs it free. Corvo got it in front, and Donnelly tried to go top shelf but put it over top of the net. Donnelly cycles back to the line with it. He's got an opening. He'll step into one, and that went just wide. Rebound to the near point. Shaw holds it in. Rim of the near circle. This is Simon. Fakes going out. Now moves it across. Donnelly receives it, and wrist shot blocked. A good shot by Ambrosiak. Vipers keep it alive. Savaglia to the slot for Simon, and that just went wide, even though he misfired on it. Shaw gets the carry back to the line for Simon. They'll trade places. Simon, top of the circle, fires it in front, deflected, side of the net. Savaglia turned away. Looked as if he had a chance there. Vipers buzzing the net, though, as they keep it in. Against Savaglia. Sends it low for Donnelly. Looks out high at the middle. This is Shaw. Back to Donnelly, top of the right wing circle. Fakes the shot. Savaglia on the goal line. Back to Donnelly. Lets it go. Glove save, Torchia. Not thought to be the fleetest of goaltenders, due in most part because of his size. Torchia showed ample mobility there.
He's ample, all right, girth-wise there, flashing out that left hand. Mike Donnelly's arms are probably tired. He teed the puck up at least 6 times on that power play. After feathering a 50-footer to start the game that found the net, he's had 4 or 5 better chances since then. Thwarted by Torchia, and he's also missed the net several times.
Oh, and Savaglia on the doorstep had a golden opportunity as Corvo deflected it right on, and then Pete put it right back into the Comet. Well, there's a lot of Mike Torchia to make the save. He checks in, at least in the books, 5'11", 215, but has been known to come to camp as heavy as 245 in years past with the Dallas Stars.
And not quite that tall either.
Vipers still on the power play down low, trying to stuff it as Tardif, and that turned away by Torchia. 10 seconds in the power play. Komets have yet to clear the zone. They don't this time. Nifty pass by Donnelly over to Tardif, and the rebound he can't quite get the handle on after Mongeau put it on net. The penalty is over, out of the box. Gagnon, both teams full strength. Tardif to the line for Shaw, just keeps it deep. That one fluttered on net and gloved by Torchia one last time. Nearly midway through it, and the Komets have a 3-2 lead.
Do you have the car advertised in the paper?
Which one?
The one regularly $18,000 on sale for 9.
Yes, we do.
Can I see it?
You know that's a base car, no options.
$9,000, who cares? So is an option?
Yep.
How much?
$9,000.
If you ever get the feeling you're being taken for more than a test drive, come to Tamarack and drive home a bargain.
Glittering stars, antique cars. The Imperial Palace has it all. And and award-winning hit show Legends in Concert, featuring live recreations of legendary superstars. The Imperial Palace Antique and Classic Auto Collection, regarded as one of the finest in the world. Affordable elegance, specialty restaurants, casino excitement, a race and sports book, health club, and the friendliest employees in town. The Imperial Palace Hotel and Casino.
Good power play. Once the power play had expired, still good pressure. Walking it right to the front of the net. Oh, Torchia held his ground, whether he wanted to or not, on the wraparound attempt by Tardif.
Torchia splitting time with Tim Chevelday of late, has played well since John Torchetti took over this hockey club. Playing well so far after a bit of a shaky start. Vipers come up empty on the power play, but not for lack of chances. Brochu giving a rough ride in the neutral zone. Can't get the puck through. And Broziak takes it below the Detroit goal line. Tried to center. Jeff Parrott knocked that away. Back up the boards. McDonald flips it over top of the Detroit net. Bezo after it, bumped by Parrott. Over comes Todd Harkins. Harkins loses the handle out of the corner. The Vipers break out. Corvo quickly to left wing, has the opening, and will drive it in off of McDonald. Liam Garvey nearly overhandled it in the corner, but Ambrosiak ahead for Harkins. Donnelly trying to flip it back out of the zone. Ambrosiak lost it to Brochu. Darren Banks up with it there at center, now sends it in. Torchia behind the net. Gives it to his defense. McDonald has to go off his skate to center, and then he dives to poke it to the Detroit line. McLaughlin with it there. Jumps to the opening. Stick handles to center, into the zone, wide on the right side. Peter McLaughlin's backhander. Deflected over top of the net. He then fires it back off the back of the net. Ed Ward gets there, tried to center. That was blocked by Duncanson. Good play there. He had a man coming down the slot. It was Donnelly. Donnelly comes over to the corner to try to help out. Ward and Duncanson still in there, and then McDonald as well. They all go down on top of the puck, and the faceoff will be in the circle to the left of Torchia. Talked about Torchia's play under new coach John Torchetti, and the whole team has seemingly responded to the coaching change, at least thus far.
All those numbers, a vast improvement on Fort Wayne's output to that point in the season. Sometimes just change for change's sake generates different results. You talked about Torchia's better play. You're not going to win without good goaltending.
Komets scoring nearly 4 a game since Torchetti took over. We see on that graphic, they're not even averaging 3 a game on the season. And as far as the goals they give up, they are last in the league, giving up nearly 4 a game and barely giving up 3 a contest since Torchetti took over. It's a long haul and a 2-line pass on Detroit as Vashkirov didn't realize he was offside. It's a long haul, though, and once the newness wears off and the system's set in, it'll be interesting to see how the Komets respond. But they were not responding at the tail end of Dave Parrish's regime, to say the least.
And in large part, the numbers that we just saw in terms of improvement, this is why those numbers were so horrid going into Torchetti taking over this team. They just couldn't do anything right in terms of scoring or keeping the puck out of their own net.
And there you see the numbers that more mirror their season averages from goals against and goals allowed.
That 13-game streak really is what precipitated and necessitated that coaching change.
Dave Parrish and his assistant Derek Ray both were relieved of their duties on December the 6th. As is so often the case, what do they say? You can't fire the players, you have to fire the coach. Unfortunate, Dave Parrish, a good man and a good hockey man, as well as Derek Ray, now looking for work, but so far the Komets finding results in John Torchetti. An icing call here. The K's on top 3-2. Have trailed twice in the hockey game, and suddenly Detroit finds themselves on the short end. Mentioned a couple times, joined by the viewers on the TSN side of things, and you can tune in again in Canada on New Year's Eve. The Kansas City Blades and Houston Aeros go at it. Check Check your local listings for the time of that broadcast. All depends on where you are. That's the math I can't do because they got that strange time zone up there. And out in the Maritimes, I don't know what time it is.
In Newfoundland.
Vipers up with it out of their own zone. Corriveau on the right side, across the line, moves it to Tardif, gets it back, rifles it just wide. Simon chasing to the far boards, beaten to it by Davidson. Lee Davidson into the Detroit zone, pulls up, looking for help, looking for a trailer. To McCoolchick at the line. Just keeps it in as he spins it around. Bawa with it there. Feeds it to the slot. McCoolchick just steers it wide as he was cutting off the line. Stephon Brochu kicking it along the wall, and the Vipers able to clear as Tardif just gets it out. McCoolchick sends it back in. Perrott forced to play it as the first man in would have been Brian Farrell. I haven't seen much of him since the opening first few shifts. Walker able to push it out. Bizzo in the neutral zone, put it right on Simon's stick. Two of them ride one another along the boards. A pair of 13s. And McLaughlin chips it into the Fort Wayne zone. Ward hard in after it. Dupuis behind the net, picked up by Walker. Spun near corner, pitching off the point is McLaughlin. Just keeps it in. Ward doing all the lunch pail work right now, chasing the puck. Frees it up, and now Savaglia stick handling high in the zone, loses it as he was triple teamed. 2-on-1, the Komets the other way. Bizzo without a helmet, the drive right on from Ambrosiak, and then he goes into Perrott, knocking it off the posts. And Bizzo along the back wall as Ed Ward wrapped around him, and everybody comes in to join the fray. The Komets 3 and the Vipers 2. 7.5 to go, second period.
The Detroit Pistons have a score to settle with an old friend when the New York Knicks invade the Palace Wednesday, December 18th. Also, a sight and sound spectacular celebrating the NBA's 50th birthday will take place throughout the evening. Don't miss all the excitement on December 18th. Get ready to rumble at the Palace. Tickets available at the Palace box office, and all Ticketmasters are charged by phone. Or call the Hoop Hotline for information.
Vipers and Kansas City Blades Friday at the Palace, and on Sunday the Michigan K-Wings in the final home appearance of the 96 calendar year for the Vipers is the 29th against Phoenix. Get your tickets by calling 810-377-0100 or stop by the Palace box office or any Ticketmaster location. Phoenix comes back, huh? I gotta start reading those memos.
Talking about a team that's struggling.
Yeah, they really the only team out of the picture in the Southwest Division. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, coming up in our next intermission, which is 7-10 away according to the big board here at the Palace. 3-2 Komets. Paul Broughton with the only goal of the period carries into the Detroit zone. His goal right now, the difference of the hockey game. He has a pair of them tonight. Donnelly throwing it through center, had his pass broken up, and transition for the Komets. Duncanson sends it inside of the net. Perrott does a nice job to knock it out of midair and play it away for Shaw. Shaw fires it up the far side. Duncanson picked that off. Tried to center, and that went off a skate. Donnelly leads the rush the other way, has Banks with it. The trailer is Tardif as he comes across the line. Checking it was Mongeau. Got it back to Donnelly, but he couldn't pull the trigger. Got upended, lost the puck, kept in at the line. Good job there by Jeff Parrott. Vipers get a change, allowing the Komets to play it out of the zone to center. Broughton tying up Brochu, and Duncanson lifts it in wide of the Detroit net. Look out as Jeff Parrott played that one up into the crowd over the short glass along the side wall. And speaking of our second intermission, we'll visit with a gentleman who used to call Detroit home. Tim Chevelday will be our guest.
Talking to Chevy before game tonight, talking about how frustrating that streak was. I think we can talk a little bit about that. Start questioning yourself as a goaltender. How much more can you do? You felt he was playing pretty well. When the team's not winning, that's what you're measured by.
Well, and as no one knows perhaps better than Tim Shovelday, you are pretty much naked out there as a goaltender. I know you can appreciate it as well. The puck gets behind you, everybody sees it. When you make a mistake, other players sometimes get covered by teammates. Forwards often are saved by defensemen. Defensemen in turn are saved by goaltenders. But perhaps no one knows better than Tim Shovelday how much blame can be heaped on a netminder when a team is not going well.
Well put.
I get honorary union privileges.
Yeah, I think we'll have to get the text to that and put it in the newsletter for next month. It was so profound.
5.5 to go, second period. 3-2, Fort Wayne. Puck pitchforked into the Komets zone by Todd Simon. Turning back up ice with it is Garvey. Plays it off the boards and flipped into the crowd once again, this time by Lee Davidson, and another 93-cent souvenir that draws a lot of attention. Face-off will come back into the neutral zone. Vipers, as we mentioned a couple of times, second overall in the IHL in points, and looking up at Orlando, as is everybody in the league. The Solar Bears 31 games into it with 51 points, the only team in the league far and away to eclipse the 50-point mark. Cincinnati having a pretty darn nice season in third place with 37 points. The Northeast has proved to be a very difficult division this season.
Separation, though, between Detroit and Cincinnati. Finally, they were neck and neck a couple weeks back. Nobody able to really catch Orlando yet, but I'm waiting for those head-to-head battles between Detroit and Orlando, especially Detroit can get healthy and get their regular lineup on the ice.
Vipers and Solar Bears have met only once this season. It was a game in Orlando that went to a shootout, eventually won by Detroit. It's the only home blemish for the Solar Bears this season. But in talking to the players on this Viper club, they seem to be more impressed with the Cincinnati Cyclones from a team standpoint. But again, everything being relative, they played the Clones 3 times and seen Orlando just that once. That was 2 months ago tonight.
Before they really got hot.
Before they heated it up, to coin a phrase. The team won 16 in a row, then dropped 2 out of 3, and is, I should say, after winning 16 in a row, has only gone 8-2 since then. I guess that's the best way to put it. So they're just 24-2 in their last 26. Komets appeared to be offside as they brought it in, but Harkins keeps playing because there was no whistle. Fires it in front, and it ends up off a leg and behind the net. Penalty coming up to Detroit, or no? Penalty coming up to Fort Wayne. Like confusion reigning supreme out there. Halfway to the bench was Mike Torchia. We'll clear it up when we come back. 3-2 Fort Wayne.
There is no issue more important to our community than this issue of diversity. And there's no issue more important to the Free Press, or to me as an editor at the Free Press. How do we build understanding? How do we help break down walls? How do we help people get along with each other? We want to be the source of information. We want to be the newspaper that people look to for help in their daily lives, in understanding the community they live in.
Excuse me, where is the music department?
Close enough.
Actually, classical music.
I thought so.
Do you have a large selection?
And there's more where that came from.
Forget it. I go to Harmony House.
There's only one original all-music store, Harmony House. Appliance stores are wannabes, video stores are try-to-bes, and bookstores just can't be. The full-time music store is Harmony House.
Music is all we do.
Well, Andy Bizzo gets the penalty. High sticking is the call at 15-18, but there was certainly some confusion. And what you won't see looking at this replay, as he got McLaughlin across the chin pretty good, was that the Armor referee, Denny LaRue, was up, and Mike Torchia was almost to center ice as play was allowed to continue as Fort Wayne handled the puck. And had Detroit come up with it, they had an empty net to shoot at it, 150 feet away, be it, but LaRue, realizing his mistake, just blew the play dead, and now Detroit goes to the power play. They have converted once this evening, and Simon moves it up the near side. Back of the line for Shaw, lets it go, and that blocked by Ambrosiak out to center. We've not seen a lot of Peter Ambrosiak tonight, but I've been impressed with his penalty killing.
Been able to get good, aggressive point coverage. He's blocked at least 2 shots that I can remember here tonight.
The Toronto native stays out of the penalty kill as the Vipers fire it back in. Garvey failed to clear. Detroit now allowed to set up as they work it to the right side. That's where Savaglia loves to quarterback this unit. To the line for Donnelly, back to Pete. He'll take it to the hash mark. It's a little bit of pressure, and now directs traffic from the half wall. A minute 10 to go in the power play. Simon gives him help. Across now, Donnelly, top of the circle to Savaglia. Gets the pass, rifles it wide, short side. Well, the patience paid off. They got a shot they wanted that time. Just missed the net. Donnelly from the line now. Fakes the shot, gives it back to Shaw. Shaw's wrist shot deflected on the way. Torchia reaching for it, still doesn't have it. It's pitched airborne across the crease by Corrival. Vipers continue to get chances on the power play. 40 seconds to go in the man advantage as Shaw keeps it in, or check it, Donnelly at the line, then miss Shaw with it. Savaglia has to send it deep to the corner. Corrival spins it around behind the net. Simon with it on the backhand, sends it back to the point. Half a minute in the power play as Shaw and Savaglia work the right side. Savaglia takes the drive, bad save, Torchia. Dupuis gets to the rebound and wires it to the line, held in by Shaw. That was key. Savaglia to the corner. Simon has a man, Donnelly between the circles, save, Torchia on the rebound, knocked out of midair to the line. Shaw gets it there, fakes the shot, across for Donnelly. Top of the left wing circle, again to Savaglia, handles it off the skate, back to Shaw. One-timer, flutters on net, and Torchia holds on with 3 seconds left in the penalty to Andy Bizzo.
Ike Corrival,
everybody's
making
tired.
it happen. You're right, everybody's tired. But if you want to talk about what makes a power play go, you watch the perimeter puck movement. Sometimes you fail to see all the work done in front of the net. Stan Drulia usually supplies it. On this particular power play with Drulia out of the lineup, Corrival working hard, taking the abuse, keeping the puck alive down low. Some great chances, all because of the hard work of Ike Corrival in front of Torchia.
Guy Dupuis really laying the lumber on him there at one point in time. Face off to the left of Torchia. Final seconds of the penalty to Bizzo will expire as Detroit gets it to McLaughlin. He just keeps it deep. Both teams are full strength. Behind the net, Mongeau brings it near side, tried to center that, knocked away by Torchia. To the point, McLaughlin just spins it back around. Tardif, right side, lets it go. Bobby J with a long shot, stick save, Torchia, he'll hold that. Down to 2:27 to go here in the second period. The Vipers have shot ahead on the shot chart, 27-21, after being outshot 15-8 in the opening period.
Safe to say that Torchia has found his rhythm and gained his confidence.
I'm going to venture into the math side of things again. I think that's a 19-6 shot advantage this period for Steve Ludzik's club.
I can't even call you on it because I don't remember what the shots were at the end of one.
That's what you call safe math. You don't know the equation, you don't know whether I'm right or not. Right. Bobby J's shot off the draw, kicked away by Torchia. That's another save. Davidson hurries into the Detroit zone, tries to cut in front, and Perrott just getting the paddle down to knock that one away. Tardif stick handles out of traffic and brings it back to center. Gets the red line and golfs it in. Around it goes. Ward lost an edge, couldn't get to it. Bobby J pinched hard off the point, kept it in momentarily, and now it's flipped out. Stefan Brochu with it there, banks it to the open left wing. And now the Komets the other way. Brian Farrell into the Detroit zone. Long wrist shot gloved by Perrott, and he'll hold that. And a way to face off with now a $1:44 to go. The Komets, as we mentioned, may find themselves in last, not only in the Eastern Conference, but also in their Eastern Division, but aren't that far out of the playoff picture. They trail third place Michigan by only 6 points. They do have a game in hand coming into tonight with the K-Wings.
If you go 13 without a victory and can stay in contention, that's why I think the management's decision to make the coaching change before the season was awash was very, very critical.
In fact, they trailed the Quebec Rafale by only 5 points and have 2 games in hand with the Rafale coming into tonight, so by no means is the season a loss. And you mentioned it, by making the move early, you stay away from perhaps venturing into that area and then making the last half of the season a very difficult one, not only for the players to play, but even for everyone to be part of. Play to the corner, Brochu banging with Farrell. kick it up. Penalty coming up to Detroit. No, I believe another Fort Wayne penalty. Is down is Jeff Parrott. And he is holding his face and writhing in pain as Dave Boyer will come off the Detroit bench. I think he got a stick. And we'll see as Dave rushes out, towel in hand, to take a look at the Paw, Manitoba native.
You love throwing that part in. But Dupuis and Donnelly were going at it pretty well and pretty aggressively at the point. There was a lot of stick work, and
he is bleeding.
It looks like it's above the eye as well. And if it's a nose, that's one thing, but if it's above the eye, that's a nasty gas to be bleeding that much.
We're going to get another look at it. Perhaps Stefan Brochu is going to be the one who gets him with the stick. Let's see if we can see. And it sure looked like his teammate's stick. And now it'll be interesting to see what the penalty call is, because unfortunately, the one they call Jeep is cut pretty good.
Brochu was all tied up with Farrell. Parrott was coming off of his man, Harkins. Brochu's stick was up high and unfortunately caught his teammates.
Well, this is interesting now. It will be a penalty on Detroit, and it will go on Stefan Brochu. So I guess the penalty was because his stick was up high. The irony of it is it hit his own teammate. There was a Fort Wayne player along the wall right there as well, so.
Right, he was in a battle with Farrell along the boards and had the clamps on him.
That was my initial thought as
right.
Farrell came out in front. He seemed to get a half step on Brochu, and he kind of wrapped him up. That's why I said at first, penalty coming up to Detroit. He and Farrell continue this battle, and unfortunately you're going to see Jeff Parrott get the stick to the face here.
Right. Parrott goes in on Harkins.
But here's the penalty.
Right.
And then when Savaglia touched up, it was blown dead. So I'm not quite as confused as I thought I was.
Well, no, and actually give Denny LaRue a lot of credit. He didn't panic. Unfortunately for the Vipers, it didn't go their way, but it is the correct call.
Yeah, and that's a tough one all the way around, because a defenseman for a penalty, Parrott, a defenseman, gets hurt. He's obviously done for the rest of the period. Now you're down to 4 period, and you're on the penalty kill. And we talked about the short-sheeted or depleted Viper defense, if you will. And Shaw able to clear as the puck comes to the near wall. So what Detroit wants to do now is turn this into a 2-fold penalty kill. There was a minute 28 remaining in the period when the call was made on Brochu. If you can get to the locker room, still down a man, you've then killed nearly 3/4 of the power play off, and you can be fresh for the remaining 28 seconds. Now right away they're able to clear as it comes back into the zone. Shaw retreats defensively as Savaglia goes to the bench for a change. Simon runs down the loose puck as it comes inside the Detroit line. 45 seconds to go in the period. And Shaw again hammers at the length of the ice. He's calling for a change as he tries to get to the Detroit bench as well. Simon in on the one-man forecheck. Sean Evans weaves his way out of the zone. Head on the right side finds Davidson. Rink wide into the Detroit end. Back after it, Bobby J. Ties his man up, loose puck behind the net. Dirk got there. Wraps it around, held in at the line. Kulchik sends it down low. Nobody cutting to the front of the net for Fort Wayne. Finally, Bawa went there, knocked away by Dirk. Comes back to him, and Robert will bank it up the boards the length of the ice. Inside 10 seconds to go in the period. Fort Wayne perhaps with time to rush it one last time. Garvey thinks so. He hurries to center, drives along, went in on goal. Perrott makes the save, and we will go to the third exactly where we stand. The Fort Wayne Komets, with the only goal of the middle period, take a 3-2 lead to the locker room, as well as 32 seconds of power play time. Despite being somewhat dominated at times in that period, John Torchia's team goes to the locker room with the lead, Darren, and that's always a plus on the road.
Well, Torchia came up big, especially on the power play penalty kill for his team, because the Vipers got all the looks they wanted on their power play.
Goaltending is always a key, and the other half of the Fort Wayne equation this season is Tim Shovelday. He will be our guest coming up in our second intermission, where the Fort Wayne Komets have a 3-2 lead over the Detroit Vipers.
people choose Blue Cross Blue Shield is because more doctors accept Blue Cross Blue Shield. You feel better if you're blue.
Hey, Mom and Dad, looking for great family entertainment at an affordable price? Then load up the kids and come to a Detroit newspaper Vipers family night. Get fun, exciting professional hockey for one low price. Get 4 tickets, 4 dogs, 4 coats, a tub of corn, and 2 t-shirts or hats. Detroit Vipers hockey, where family entertainment and action-packed hockey come together. The next Detroit Vipers family night is Sunday, December 22nd versus the Michigan K-Wings, presented by Detroit newspapers. For more information, Jazz, call the Palace.
Yes, Mom. I know. He's not a doctor or a lawyer. Okay, entomologists don't make a lot of money.
Mary? I don't know. Craig wants to go to Peru to study water beetles.
Mom, he's not a weirdo. He just marches to a different drummer.
Bring the Baron home. Red Baron frozen pizza.
You know, Mom, you could be right about Craig.
The Fort Wayne Komets with a 3-2 lead over the Detroit Vipers after 2 periods of play. John Allers alongside Darren Elliott back with you at the Palace of Auburn Hills. We mentioned it at the outset. The Vipers thought they were in for quite an outing tonight against this Fort Wayne club because they're a little bit banged up, and that's exactly what's happened.
Well, they're in tough, and now we're down to a 20-minute game that really favors Fort Wayne and their aggressive style of play.
Yeah, Vipers a little bit depleted on defense. Remains to be seen if Jeff Parrott will come back. We'll try to get you a report as soon as possible. He was cut with just over a minute remaining in that first period, and of course they'll begin the third period with Stefan Brochu on defense, a defenseman in the box. Peter McLaughlin, a rookie, is beginning to get more and more ice time out of there out of necessity.
Well, Steve Lutzig, I think, will shorten his bench and go with 8 or 9 or 10 skaters if he can to try to even up this game and get the lead in the third period.
Speaking of the bench, the man in the backup role on the Fort Wayne bench tonight is Tim Chevelday, the Fort Wayne goaltender, joins us standing by downstairs. And Tim, you guys went through a pretty rough run there earlier this season, and the change came December the 6th. What was the feeling in the locker room when a coaching change was made?
Well, I think any time a coaching change is made, it means that you're not playing very well as a team, and I think it might be a wake-up call, and I think everyone had to realize that we weren't playing good, and we had to pick up our game. And John, our new coach now, he's a very energetic guy, very enthusiastic, and that sort of rubbed off on us, and we were playing a lot better, and the key, though, is try to keep it up for the remainder of the season.
Chevy, when you go through a tough stretch like that, it can be particularly difficult on the goaltenders. How do you keep your focus and your confidence up through a tough stretch like that?
You just try to look at it realistically. Obviously you're the most important player on the ice, and you have the capability of winning, losing a hockey game, and sometimes you maybe put too much pressure on yourself, expect too much yourself, and just try to keep it realistic. Am I playing bad, or am I playing pretty good, and maybe the team in front of me have to pick it up. So you just sort of got to sometimes step away from the game and take a look at the big picture.
Despite wins and losses, no matter what season it is, Tim, Fort Wayne is looked upon in a lot of eyes around the IHL as a small market city, but it's a pleasant surprise for the players. The fan support, win or lose, is always there, isn't it?
Exactly. It's a city with a lot of hockey history. It's been in the league for 45 years, and my family and myself, I enjoyed living there and playing there. We get averaging around 7,000 people a game, and when we play a game on the weekend, it's the big game that weekend. There's, like you said, a lot of enthusiastic fans, and the biggest thing, they've been pretty supportive behind us. We weren't really winning a lot of games, but they just want you to go out there and work hard and play your behinds off.
Tim, on a personal level, it's your third organization now, the Boston organization that you're with right now, in 3 years. What are you looking at to get out of this season, moving into next season for the continuation of your career?
Well, I want to try to get on a roll and get in a groove and play some good hockey and feel good about my game again. I haven't felt real good about my game in a little while, and that's probably the biggest thing, is just go out there and feel confident and feel comfortable in the nets.
Tim, goaltenders make great color analysts, i.e. Darren Elliott, and I've worked with Darrell Ray as well, but you guys see the whole ice during the course of a game. What's the biggest difference you notice in your hockey club since the coaching change was made?
Well, I think there's a little more jump out there. We're supporting the puck a little better. We're trying to be a little more aggressive out there. When you give skilled players time and ice, they're going to usually make great plays. And I think we can still do a little better job of that, especially on the power play. But you want to play in-your-face hockey, and if they're going to beat you, make them beat yourself, I guess, with a great play, not give them that time and let them have all day to make a pass, take a shot.
Chevy, what's your analyst hat on. We'll put that John's comment to the test. What can we look for here in the next 20 minutes, the third period?
Well, obviously Detroit's going to come at us pretty hard. You know, they're down by a goal there in their own building, and the key thing is not for us to sit back. We've got to keep going at them. We've got to play smart. Make sure you don't have any 3-on-2s, on-man rushes. Do a little better job in the penalty kill. I think we're just sitting back and just letting them tee it up from all over. Torch made some big saves for us, so we've got to get a little better in that area. And like I said, just not sit back. Like sometimes you're in another team's building, you just sort of try to wait up the storm, but you've got to try to go out there and get that second goal.
What do you think? It's got a future.
It's got a future like all the old goaltenders.
Yeah. Oh, we're the smartest and best looking, Darren. You should know that.
The Union is hard at work tonight. Tim Shovelday, thanks for taking the time. Happy holidays to you.
All right, thank you. My pleasure.
Tim Shovelday, tonight in a backup role for the Fort Wayne Komets, joining us here in our second intermission. His club on top of the Detroit Vipers. 3-2 our score after 2 at the Palace of Auburn Hills.
Hi, I'm Alan McGinnis of the St. Louis Blues, and this is David and Trevor. Hockey is a tough game. Here are some tips how to avoid and receive checks. Your opponent will probably be approaching at high speed. To avoid him, you can accelerate quickly away, or if there's no time, take the hit safely using these methods. Keep your knees bent slightly, your elbows in. Most of the impact will be absorbed in the shoulders, hips, and legs. Keep your head up. If you're doing the checking, never lead with your head. And don't try to check if you're off balance. Never check an opponent from behind. Have fun and practice hard.
See the Detroit Titans and Iona on Saturday, December 21st. For tickets to Titan men's and women's basketball games, call 313-993-1700.
Get ready for game night. Game night on Pass. Home team coverage like never before. Coming January 4th, only on Pass Sports.
Now Kozlov in deep. Here is Fedorov. Moves ahead. He scores! There you go. Sergei Fedorov.
They clear the floor. 4 on the shot clock. Has to hurry. Spins in the lane. Ducks it down. He's unbelievable.
There's a high fly ball. It hit the right. Might be. It is long gone.
Pass Sports, home of the home teams.
3-2, the Fort Wayne Komets lead the Detroit Vipers after 2 periods of play at the Palace of Auburn Hills. Ironically, the 6th Tuesday game of the season for the Detroit Vipers. That equals as many Saturday games as they have played this season. And to follow that theme, it's a busy Tuesday in the IHL. 4 games in all. Let's check the out-of-town scoreboard for you and go around the eye, where the Kansas City Blades are at home playing host to the Orlando Solar Bears, and they're having about as much luck as everybody else in the league's having with the Bears.
No surprise there. You're getting goal scoring from across their lineup, and of course, Father Time, Alan Betts are getting better with time.
2-0, the Bears with the lead there. Milwaukee at home at the Bradley Center with a second period 2-1 lead over the Grand Rapids Griffins. And one other game in the loop tonight, a little bit farther out west, the 2-time defending Turner Cup champion Utah Grizzlies scoreless in the first period with the Quebec Rafale. Time now for us to take a look around the IHL in a different way in our weekly look at IHL news and notes, as we take a look around the International Hockey League in a different sense. And we look to the Southwest to begin things, where it is a wild, wild Southwest division. As we look at the standings in the Southwest, 4 teams separated by just 4 points, and Long Beach and Houston Dare have played themselves right back into it. Early on, it looked like a 2-team race.
A 2-team race with Utah well in front. Las Vegas came creeping back into it. Long Beach, John Van Boxner has put together a team out there through trades and acquisitions after training camp. Phoenix, unfortunately, you spoke to it earlier, almost out of it at this early point in the season.
Yeah, hard to believe only a third of the way through the year that you could be, but the Phoenix Roadrunners may very well be. Speaking to the Houston comeback into the race, one of the reasons we look at this week's IHL Players of the Week, and the Player of the Week this week is on the ice here tonight. Pete Savaglia of the Detroit Vipers having an outstanding week, playing his way back into the top 10, as we mentioned, in scoring and doing all the little things as well that oftentimes don't get you the Player of the Week.
always good in his own zone. He's always good on faceoffs. Now he's starting to get the points that are usually there for him. This streak started before this past week, but he gets the recognition as Player of the Week because of the 4 and 4 for 8 points.
Yeah, included in there for Pete, a 5-point game in the win over Manitoba last Wednesday night in which he had a hat trick. Going to the Houston point that I made earlier, though, they have won 10 in a row, have the Arrows. One of the reasons for the third straight week, their goaltender, Fred Shabbat, is IHL Goaltender of the Week.
Those are very gaudy numbers. I don't know who said it, but it's very true. I've never seen a team on a winning streak that wasn't getting good goaltending. Houston is getting not just good goaltending, great goaltending.
And our final point in this evening's IHL News and Notes perhaps needs a little bit of clarification. It's Brown again atop the scoring charts. As you look at the IHL, Rob Brown has owned the IHL over the course of the last 3-4 years. In just about every phase, he's doing it again this season.
Usually the setup man for Malte over there in Chicago. Now he's scoring and getting the assists. He's just dominating the scoring race thus far.
He's leading the league in goals. He has Len Barry of San Antonio by 3. Everyone else in the league by at least a half a dozen. And his lead is even bigger in the point race, where the closest man to him, once again, Len Barry of San Antonio, 10 points back. And you look down there, you mentioned Steve Malte, the setup man. He's having a pretty nice season as well, but 38 points through the first 30-plus games. He's 18 behind his teammate as far as worrying about the team's scoring lead.
And Len Barry had to get real hot to close that gap at the top of that scoring race.
Yeah, and also speaking to Rob Brown, he's riding a 27-game point scoring streak coming into tonight's action in the IHL. That our look at IHL News and Notes for this Tuesday evening. It's a 3-2 lead the Fort Wayne Komets have over the Detroit Vipers after 2 periods of play. We'll be back with more, including the 3rd period after this.
Drink Bud Ice, but beware the penguins.
Picture this. 2 eye care experts with the insight to work as one. That's the new partnership between Henry Ford Health System and First Optometry. Together, they offer you the combined power of optometry and ophthalmology. From glasses and contact lenses to full-service medical eye care. And with the power of 2, the advantages are plain to see. Henry Ford and First Optometry. The power of 2 working together for you.
Coming to the Palace of Auburn Hills, it's University of Michigan men's basketball. Saturday, December 21st at 3. U of M takes on the University of Arizona Wildcats. Steve Fisher's Wolverines are returning 4 starters to their lineup and are expected to be one of the top clubs in the nation on their way to their 6th straight trip to the NCAA tournament. Tickets are as low as $10 and are available at the Palace box office and all Ticketmasters, or charged by phone. Call the Hoops hotline at 810-377-8200 for more information. A 3-2 lead for the Fort Wayne Komets over the Detroit Vipers after 2 periods of play. Only goal of the second period coming from Fort Wayne's Paul Broughton at the 4:53 mark on assist from Duncanson and Murphy. The puck movement on the power play for Fort Wayne has been their key tonight, and it was the key to this goal.
Also, too much time for Broughton to set this shot up in the slot. Nobody close enough to him to close the gap. He had all day and he rang it off the far post on Rich Perron. They're able to beat the penalty killing scheme. Too much room in the seams leads to the goal.
For Broughton, his 2nd of the night and 12th of the season. And the stats tilting a little bit after 2 periods of play. The Vipers were down in shots, quality chances, and face-offs after 1. They made up for that, but the one stat they didn't make up for is on the big board.
You look at the power play shots in particular, in large part for the Komets. They had 1 shot on the power play in the first period. There were 3 power play opportunities. They had, do the math for me, John. They had 9 in that period, and that was the goal that put them in the lead in the second frame.
As the 3rd period gets underway, the Vipers will have Stepan Brochu beginning the period in the penalty box. He also took out not only himself on the particular play, but Jeff Parrott, his defensive partner. And we'll get another look at exactly how that happened as he gets a stick up on Brian Farrell, and unfortunately it comes down on the bridge of Jeff Parrott's nose.
inadvertent and very unfortunate. Brochu had the penalty for holding his man. And Parrott had come in to take his man. Harkins against the board. Got clipped pretty severely up in the face. Looked really close to the eye as well.
Yeah, we'll try to get a report as to the status of Jeff Parrott and whether or not he will return. I do not see him out there skating in the warm-up at this point in time. And again, we've made light of the Vipers' blue line core and how, in fact, they are a little bit light. Now with 4 to begin the period, Brochu comes out of the box in 32 seconds. You could certainly go with 5, but when Steve Ludzik has to go with 5 and really only 3 of them are regular defensemen, he's asking a lot.
And that's where he's going to try to shorten that bench. You look at him exhorting his troops to come on, let's fire up, get through the early part of this penalty kill, and let's take it to this Fort Wayne team, because when Detroit is in their zone, they have pretty much had their way.
Well, as the third period gets underway, Detroit still shorthanded and trailing. They are 2-6-1 this season when trailing after 2. And a whistle blows as the long shot got by Rich Perrant. And no goal, as it was offside. The Komets coming into tonight, 9-14-6, have led out of 29 games this season going into the third period only 7 times. They are 5-1-1 when in that situation. And that says a lot, because it is so difficult to win in pro hockey when you trail after 2 periods of play, whether you're down 6-1 or 2-1. And every year that is evidenced by statistics, and this year no different. Play to the corner, final 10 seconds now, the penalty to Brochu. To the line, Evans holds it in across for Dupuis. His drive went wide. DeCarum bounces to the near side, and Evans keeps it in. Up the wall, Shaw banned on it as he tried to clear. Murphy keeps it in. Brochu's out of the box, full team's full strength. Evans, Bennett in front for Murphy. It rolls off a skate right on, and Perrant covers it up. Vipers nearly at their season average, having given up 24 shots on goal to this point. They give up just over 26 a game. Be remiss if we didn't send out congratulations to Komets center Paul Willett and his wife Lisa, proud parents of a baby girl, their first, Kaylee Savannah Willett, born yesterday morning at 7:59 a.m. And that's the reason Paul Willett is a scratch tonight for the Fort Wayne Komets.
Best reason in the world.
In fact, the notes coming from the Fort Wayne PR department said that it was Paul's greatest assist of his career.
Well put.
Have to give credit where credit is due on that one. Chuck Bailey, the PR director of the Fort Wayne Komets, coming up with that. And he's right. Komets now 1 for 5 on the power play tonight. Off the draw in the Detroit zone. Long blast by McDonald goes wide of everything. Near side held in. Jam at it in the corner, and Bobby J able to freeze it for a face-off.
Really enjoyed visiting with Tim Chevalier. Played against him when he broke in the American Hockey League, and we did some hockey schools together. And he may feel that he doesn't have any fans here in Detroit anymore. This proves that that's not true.
And they put him up on the big board here at the Palace, and he gets a nice cheer from the fans. So you can go home. McLaughlin hauls down in the corner. Puck comes around near side. Bobby J trying to bring it up the boards. Gets help from Tardif. Comes back in front and now sends it across for Corrival. Mike finds it and now drops it back for his defense. Just over a minute into the third. 3-2. Fort Wayne has the lead. First meeting of the year between these two clubs. Detroit has won 14 of the 17 previous meetings between these clubs. McLaughlin from behind the net spins it around the boards. Tardif finds the handle ahead at center. Simon off his skate got it into the zone, but nobody there to receive it. And it's set the length of the ice back into the Detroit zone. Shaw on it at the line for Tardif. He just redirects it in. Wide of the net. Torchia will take no chances as he pulls it in and smothers it. Jeff Parrott now wearing a shield back to the Detroit bench. he may have split his lip a little bit there as well.
He looks like he may have gotten the full shaft and the blade. Looks like his lip, his nose, and above his eye, all showing marks, stick marks.
But he'll be back in the lineup, obviously. That's why he's on the bench. And the play to the corner off the draw. Farrell loses the handle, bringing it out of the zone. Donnelly nearly picked his pocket from behind. Set through center and swatted away by Bashkirov. Vipers on a bit of a forward lock forecheck that time. It's played away the length of the ice. Bezo touches it. They wave it off, apparently on a deflection. Thought at first the linesman had him for a two-line pass. Shaw gets it back for Donnelly. Crossed the line. Goes wide to the left side, lost an edge, and now loses the puck. Kulchik has it at the Fort Wayne line. Rink wide for Gagnon. This pass off the stick of Bezo. Aaron into the Detroit zone. Savaglia down low for Shaw. Hammers it up the boards. This will go the length of the ice. Detroit is making a change. And easily icing will be the call. Both these teams' next action coming up on Friday night as Kansas City will be here to take on the Vipers, and the Komets return home for a date with interstate rival Indianapolis. College basketball will be here at the Palace on Saturday as the University of Michigan Wolverines play host to the Arizona Wildcats. A 3:45 tip. For tickets, the Palace box office or any Ticketmaster location.
What a great game for all you college hoops fans. 4 versus 6 in the nation right here at the Palace. Big Wolverine fan there. No pun intended.
Seems like anywhere you go, you can find the Michigan fan or the Michigan paraphernalia. Traveling around the country and around the continent, you always seem to find the amazing blue somewhere.
I believe they're #1 in the nation in merchandise sales.
Ed Ward across the line on right wing, pitches it right on Torchia. Did not handle it. Banks got a piece of it, but it rolled right back into him. And he was able to cover up for his initial error. Darren Banks, a Windsor native, as he told us in our first intermission. A Saskatchewan native, Tim Chevelday, joining us in our second intermission. Just a pair of a number of the Canadian natives as part of tonight's game. And once again, want to greet all the fans joining us tonight on TSN, north of the border. Although for us, Windsor's south of the border.
A little bit south. IHL put out a real good summary of the makeup of the pro leagues, the NHL, the AHL, and the IHL. Largest number of Canadian contingency in the IHL at 70%.
Off the draw, Brochu at the point. Sends it down low. Savaglia being held off, couldn't get to it. It comes around near side. Banks trying to pitch it on the backhand and keep it in. Savaglia in the middle of the scrum. Pushed it ahead. Dupuis gets the handle and sent it in, but offside is the call. We're early in the third. Fort Wayne has a 1-goal lead.
Sporting goods store with such low prices on so many big brand names, people are shocked to find themselves in a whole new dimension of savings.
We carry Columbia jackets, Columbia jeans and shirts, plus Columbia hunting and ski apparel featuring Bergenthal cloth, plus MTR fleece for maximum thermal protection on the double whammy ski parka.
McDonald's, the big names bring you in, and the low prices bring you back.
The McDonald's NBA 2-ball competition is coming to the Detroit area. You could participate on the Palace floor in the state finals. For the competition nearest you, call the Pistons 810-377-8727. Competitions are going on now through January 30th. McDonald's NBA 2-ball is presented locally by the Pistons, Meyer, Coca-Cola, and Michigan Parks and Recreation. 16 and a half to go. 3-2, the Komets on top. Vipers work to free it up in the neutral zone, and they do so, but offside as Simon thought it was onside. Have yet to see Jeff Parrott return to the ice, but we do see the visor, so the plan would be he'll be back in there. And as you mentioned, Darren, he's cut in a couple different spots, and he did break his nose.
Well, when I saw all that blood when it first happened, I was at least hoping that was from the nose, not from the eye. If you would have said they got cut in the mouth, broke his nose, and cut above the eye, you would have been right on all counts.
Of course, one of the concerns when you lose as much blood as he did is how's he going to feel when he gets out there skating around? Is he going to get lightheaded? Is he going to get dizzy? Is he going to be able to take it? And he's yet to find out. He's been out since early in the third. He returned. He did not return during the intermission. Vipers trying to get the pressure going in the Fort Wayne zone. Detroit trails 3-2, and offside suddenly seems to be the popular call as the Komets bring it in. John LeBlanc spent part of last season with this club and part of last season with the Orlando Solar Bears.
Came over at the trading deadline. Had to be a little bit of a disappointment for a player. Orlando went to the Turner Cup Finals, and of course, this season, they're aspiring to that and more.
Playing alongside former Solar Bear Craig Duncanson again this season, so he's not alone in that situation.
Dunk came over of his own accord as a free agent.
There's a trade that sent Darren Smith to Orlando last season, as Darren mentioned at the trading deadline. Vipers looking for the equalizer. Donnelly down low, turned away by Liam Garvey. Lee Davidson sends it up the boards. Bawa got a piece of it, not out. Walker pulls it off, rifles it to the corner, gets it back, shot, save made by Torchia. Sprawled in front was Mongeau on the play. McDonald runs down the carom to the corner, sends it up the boards. Vipers keep it alive. Again, it's Walker with a shot, and Torchia sticks that one away. Good shift for Steve Walker, who got a couple of good chances. Puck cleared back to the Detroit zone. Perrant plays it ahead for his defense. Mongeau had it hop his stick, and Farrell, bumped by Walker, flips it ahead. Detroit sends it deep as Brochu dumps it in. Vipers get a change. Komets the other way. Gagnon headmans it on the left side for Farrell into the Detroit zone. Looking around, Robert Dirk picks his spot and spins it for Corvo. Off his stick, came up on top of the dasher. Now Farrell bumps him from behind, and they'll freeze for a face-off.
Checking here. We haven't heard Rich Perrant's name called here very much lately, as the Vipers have kind of taken it over. Played very well, as we mentioned, and we talked about the players of the week in our second intermission segment. He's been runner-up on a couple of counts.
This past week for goaltender of the week, last month in November, he was runner-up for goaltender of the month. He's second in the league in goals against, third in wins, and fifth in minutes played, but I don't think he's too worried about leading the league in any of those particular categories. He just happens to be near the top of all of them. Jokingly said to me this morning, what would I have had to done to be goaltender of the week? He said all Shabbat did was get 2 shutouts last week. Does that mean I needed 3?
Yeah, we talked about Shabbat going back to back to back as goaltender of the week, 3 successive weeks.
Tardif at center, lifts it to the open right wing. After it is Corvo. He pumps McCoolchick to the back wall, then Ivan went down. Gets back up as the play comes up the wall. Sealed off, Simon comes up with it across the crease looking for Corvo, and that hopped his stick. Dirk keeps it alive, spins it right back into Simon, who was still getting up after he was taken out of the play. Farrell along the boards, battling hard with Tardif, who put the shoulder to him, but he was able to get it out. Dirk has to wait for the mates to touch up and flips it back in, wide of the net. Torchia out to glove it down for Gagnon, and his pass is well errant. And we'll go the length of the ice, and Brochu touches up. Icing is the call. Stefan Brochu, one of the leading assist men in the Colonial Hockey League coming into tonight's action, moves the puck pretty well. Picked up 31 helpers thus far up in the Colonial League as a member of the Flint Generals.
Seeing a lot of ice time, obviously for the reasons we've talked about, a depleted defensive core.
Face-off to the right of Torchia. Savaglia unable to control it. Komets have done their fair share on the face-off. Long outlet pass into the Detroit zone forces Perron to come out and sweep it away. Murphy frees it up for Burton, trying to come to the front of the net. It's still underneath him. Shot swept wide of the mark short side by Duncanson. Murphy goes hard to the boards down low after players sprawled all over the place. Hand passed ahead by Bobby J. And now Bashkarov trying to help out. Duncanson fires inside of the net. Bashkarov comes back and circles with it. Andrei Bashkarov plays it up the boards. Too far, though. Dupuis sends it back. Ed Ward had it in his boots. Couldn't find it. Now gets it back and wraps it in. This will be icing if Fort Wayne gets there first, and they do. Really settling into a neutral zone type of hockey game here in the third period. Komets being very careful. Detroit Newspapers night coming up at the Palace on Thursday, December the 26th, as the Pistons host the Pacers. 4 tickets, 4 soft drinks, 4 hot dogs, a tub of corn, and your choice of 2 shirts or hats, all for just $65. As good a deal as you'll find in the NBA. Call the Palace box office for more information. Gary Hall, the Komet trainer, leaving the ice. I did not see if he was preceded by a Fort Wayne player. I believe so. No, that's the athletic trainer. That's not the equipment manager as well, so it'll be interesting to see if he returns. Seen a lot of players losing an edge tonight out there. Brad Shaw does it here, and now puck sent back into the Fort Wayne zone. Take your pick, 2-line pass if Maggio plays it. Either way, we get a whistle. Fort Wayne has the lead.
A great change is coming through the American economy. I think there's every reason for Detroit to be optimistic for the future. This is, after all, is the town that put the nation on wheels, put the world on wheels. I think my job is to really help the reader understand how the world works, in particular in the area of finance.
Face off in the neutral zone between Lee Davidson and Michel Maggio, controlled by Detroit. Robert Dirk brings it to center, hammers it around the wall. Walker comes in near side, comes all the way to the right point. Shaw kept it in. Liam Garvey now takes it behind his own net. Garvey played last year with the San Antonio Iguanas with John Torchetti. Bad bounce off a stanchion, nearly keeping the puck in the Fort Wayne zone. So often is the case, Darren, a coach gets a chance and he'll give players that he appreciated the effort from at a different level or a different team a chance as well.
It allows him to implement his system quicker because these guys already understand how he coaches and what his style is like.
Good 3-man rush by Detroit, but Donnelly's pass intended for Walker didn't get through. A guy named Keenan's been known to do that, hasn't he?
Time and again. Guys like Hudson have made a career just by having Keenan move around the league.
He's had the same team everywhere he's gone. It's just he's been with a different team every time.
That's right. Except for the stars, all the plumbers, if you will, the third and fourth line guys, he's brought with him.
A lot of guys whose hockey card reads Chicago or Philadelphia, Chicago, New York, St. Louis.
Yep.
Playing the Detroit zone. Hard forecheck coming from Fort Wayne. It's surprising from a team on the road with a 1-goal lead about midway through a third period, but Komets looking for the tonic. Keep their winning ways going. They've won 2 in a row coming into tonight. Vipers 2-0-2 last week. Trochew from behind the net, throws it up the ice, picked off by Sean Evans, and he just steers it back in. Perrant wanders way out to play it. Comes across the slot before Perrant did, and lucky for him, Corriveau was there to cover up. Breakout up the middle. Simon moves it on right wing for Tardif. He hits the brakes, loses the puck. Put right back in by Guy Dupuis. Nearing the halfway mark of the third period. 3-2 Fort Wayne, all but 1 goal coming in the opening period. The way it looked early on, I thought we were in for an 8-6 game. And now it's settled more into the 96-97 style of 3-2.
Plus the goaltenders, both of them settled down after a shaky first 10 minutes.
Trochew wires it around, and that'll escape the zone. Komets couldn't play it. They were making a change. They will call this icing. And the faceoff will come back into the Detroit zone. One of those borderline calls that is made on this particular occasion. Check out the Vipers this year on the World Wide Web, www.vipers.com. www.DetroitVipers.com. It includes information, scores, and a chance to win prizes. The internet service is developed and programmed by Sequoia Diversified Products. Call them at 810-299-4220. Face off to the left of Rich Perron in the Detroit zone. Savaglia to take it for the Vipers against Lee Davidson for the Komets. He has LeBlanc with him. Savaglia wins the draw. Jay behind the net now for Bradshaw. Just feathers it out to center ice. Savaglia bumped into by McDonald. Dirk trailing the play. Able to chop it in deep. Ward gets on it behind the net for Donnelly. Tied up there by LeBlanc. Sent around the boards. Pinching is Robert Dirk. Puck comes right back to Ward. To Savaglia. Set it to Donnelly. Oh, knocked away by the pad of Torchia. And players strewn all over the ice. A whistle. Donnelly tried to hit the brakes and pull it back around Torchia, but he slid the pads out and was able to stack it away. LeBlanc in the corner slow to get up, as was Donnelly. Gary Hall, who has returned to the ice, got halfway to his fallen forward, and of course, as is so often the case, watched him get up and skate by him.
I was going to say, Hall returned to the bench. We don't know why he had to go to the locker room in the first place. LeBlanc was okay. Donnelly stayed down, I think, out of exasperation, because he did have his head up on this play. You saw Torchia with the poke check early, tried to go short side, but Torchia stacked the pads.
The whole chance created when Robert Dirk pinched off the left point. Bit of a D attack that time, and it worked for Detroit to a T. Savaglia with just a touch pass looked as if he was the open man and quickly gave it up to his goal-scoring winger. And Donnelly, as you mentioned, a little bit frustrated when Torchia got the big pillows in the way. Dirk will hammer it around the boards, back in. Torchia waits it behind the net, now sweeps it along the wall. Shaw held it in. Leaves it on the dasher for Savaglia, back to the point to Shaw. Lets it go, deflected in front as Ward had the screen, but again, Torchia's there to cover it up.
Big difference with Torchia now compared to earlier in the game. No rebounds. He's controlling his rebounds much better. Seems to be much more confident in his positioning to begin with.
I haven't had a chance to talk to you since I saw this piece in USA Today about the width of the goaltender's pads. Now, I don't know about today's goaltenders. They say 12 inches is the limit. I remember talking to you one time off camera. You said yours were 18 and a half inches wide. Is that what it was?
And I still had a big 5-hole. Too big as it turned out. One of the differences that's happened, the old deer hide and leather pads used to expand, so the league had to be a little bit liberal. Now with the man-made materials, guys are having to manufacture illegally.
So you're saying yours was just through dumb luck. Everybody else is cheating.
Nowadays they're cheating. Well, the thing is, you don't have the expansion and contraction that you used to have, and the league had to step in. I think some of the measures that the NHL is taking are a little bit extreme in terms of suspensions and the like, but that remains to be seen how they actually mete out those kinds of suspensions for illegal equipment.
Have to be careful. You might date yourself again talking about the different materials used.
I know.
You did wear a mask, though, right?
Yes, I did. Contrary to popular belief, this doesn't have a good face for radio.
Play into the Fort Wayne zone. Vipers getting borderline desperate now. Down to 8.5 to go. Only down one. Corbo with a blind centering pass. Picked off by McCoolchick, and will carry up the right side and flip it into the Detroit zone. No icing as Bobby J's back to get it. Gets a pick from Ed Ward, told by Rich Perron to wheel with it, and luckily finds Brad Shaw on a dangerous cross-ice pass. Ward trying to drop it for the trailer Donnelly. Knocked away, and the Komets the other way. 2-on-2, Bawa and LeBlanc. Long drive by LeBlanc, sticked away by Perron. Shaw to the corner after it. Donnelly to help out. It's reversed away out of the reach of Dirk, but he's got room and he's got time. Up the boards now for Ward. Simon joins the rush at center and pitches it wide of the Fort Wayne net. Donnelly in hard after it. McCoolchick and he battle in the corner. Over comes Simon to try to dig at it. Up the boards, it gets by Dirk and out to center ice. Brochu hinges back to get it. Again, the Vipers with a bit of a D attack as we're seeing the Blue Liners pinch from the point. Icing the call here. 7.5 to go. Detroit down a goal.
Am I
That's why Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan offers all kinds of plans. So no matter what you choose, you can still be blue. And that can make you feel pretty good. You feel better if you're blue.
Am I blue? Hey, Mom and Dad, looking for great family entertainment at an affordable price? Then load up the kids and come to a Detroit newspaper Vipers family night. Get fun, exciting professional hockey for one low price. Get 4 tickets, 4 dogs, 4 coats, a tub of corn, and 2 t-shirts or hats. Detroit Vipers Hockey, where family entertainment and action-packed hockey come together. The next Detroit Vipers family night is Sunday, December 29th at 6 p.m. versus the Phoenix Roadrunners, presented by Detroit Newspapers. For more information, just call the Palace.
Well, your favorite bartender from the Love Boat will be visiting the Palace this Friday. Come meet Isaac, Ted Lang, where the Vipers host the Kansas City Blades at 7:30. Bring your camera and also a shot glass for this memorable occasion.
You only say that because you always have yours
in my hip pocket.
Face off to the left of Perrant, the Detroit zone. Fort Wayne 3, Detroit 2. It has been that way since the 4:53 mark of the second period. Walker for Detroit. Rink wide for Darren Banks. And dump it into the Fort Wayne end. Torchia with 33 saves already, out to play it from behind the net. Liam Garvey headmans it through center, too far for Ambrosiak, and just banked up the wall back through center. Banks will reach back, get to it, tried to cradle it to the forehand, but couldn't get it away. Ambrosiak hit hard by Banks at center, loses the puck. Komets cover up, and Garvey will send a sand wedge into the right corner. Good job by Brochu to reverse it away from the pressure that was right upon him. Savaglia, his centerman, over to get it. Stick handles out of trouble, now to center, goes around Dupuis, reaches out and pokes it deep into the Fort Wayne zone. Detroit getting a change. And Garvey plays it away. Rob Murphy up the near side, knocked down by Tardif. Latrice Tardif tries to cut front, rolled off his stick, and rifled back to center ice. Murphy came to the rescue on that one. Corriveau will wire it back around the boards and in. Tardif goes after it, tried to center, score! No goal! No goal! A penalty coming up to Detroit, no goal. The penalty is on Corriveau, no goal. Wow. What a break for Fort Wayne. Torchia was out of the net. It went off a Fort Wayne skate into the net. But the ruling is that the penalty blew the play dead the minute the puck was touched on the back wall by Detroit.
I didn't see the infraction because Torchia played it behind his back.
It's Corriveau who tripped him, and the ruling is that as soon as Tardif touched the puck, the play was blown dead. We'll see, it's going to be Corriveau right there for the trip. And the ruling is as soon as Tardif touches the puck to center it, the play is dead.
The ruling is right. The penalty is weak, in my estimation. It was skate on skate. Torchia was scrambling to get back in the net, and Corriveau, as is his style, hard in on the forecheck. Lucic can't believe it.
Well, no penalties have been called in the third period by Denny LaRue. His timing is, if nothing else, ironic and unfortunate from a Detroit standpoint. Tardif would have been credited with a goal as it went off a Fort Wayne skate and in, but now, not only is the game not tied, but the Vipers are shorthanded, and even if they kill the penalty off, they're down to 4 and some change to try to tie it.
Talk about double jeopardy on these penalties. Brochu takes a penalty at the end of the second period and takes his partner up, Parrott, out with a inadvertent high stick. Double jeopardy here. Instead of a game-tying goal, you're now killing a penalty with 6 minutes to go in the third period.
Incidentally, we have not seen Jeff Parrott since then. He did return to the bench to watch his mates. I thought, knowing Parrott, that he would return, but not the case. Simon keeps it in as the play's in the Fort Wayne zone now, a half minute into the penalty, and I think Denny LaRue has another call here, and Denny LaRue just caught the stick of Rob Murphy as he tried to skate by. I don't know what he's got here. I think he's got Murphy for a slash, and that speaks volumes in itself.
did think it was inadvertent watching the replay. Now I'm pretty sure of it that Denny LaRue feels that maybe he got a little whistle happy on that Corvo play because the puck ended up in the net.
Well, you saw it as we shot to the Detroit bench right after the whistle and the penalty. Everyone looking up at the scoreboard. The Palace, being one of the nicer buildings in the IHL, has the advent of a Jumbotron, and the replay was showed widely throughout the building on that Jumbotron. They can't use replay in the IHL, but it's not to say Denny LaRue may not have looked up and seen it. Now watch him as he's coming over to make this penalty call. He got Murphy's stick as Robert Dirk came over and got a piece of it. So 4-on-4, and Detroit will have a power play for 31 seconds, barring any other calls, as the long wrist shot by Shaw is grabbed off.
4-on-4 has to favor the Vipers, as we talked about in the Keys, with their speed wide. They can really take advantage here in this 4-on-4 situation.
And in another minute 25, they would have a short power play chance. Face off to the left of Torchia. Savaglia to take it, as he will take most of the big draws for Detroit down the stretch. Davidson has handled him pretty well tonight, and he wins this one. Duncanson sends it back behind the net. A bouncing puck that Dupuis gets the handle on, lifts to center, knocked out of midair by Shaw, and then played by Tardif. That's a high stick. And that may be one of the better plays of the night, because I believe Davidson was onside, and he was behind the defense. Shaw reaching up with the good hand-eye coordination, able to make this swat out of midair that may end up whistling the play down, but also allows the defense to reset itself.
Coach Torchetti has to be happy with the effort here. He's been pretty consistent from start to finish by his squad.
21st head coach in Fort Wayne Comet history. Shaw backs it into his own zone. Donnelly keeps the handle and plays it up the board. Mongeau, one-on-one, looking for help. The drop pass to Donnelly, cuts to the middle, bands on it. Still loose between the circles. Mongeau turns, shot right on, rebound. Dirk had a whack at it, and the save made by Torchia. Down low, everybody crashing hard for Detroit. McCoolchuk spins it around and soft up the boards and out. The play made by Liam Garvey. Vipers get changes as Mongeau stick handles to the line. Got it in, now for Ward. Touch pass, back to Brochu, and a stick save made by Torchia. Once again, he's had all the answers in the last two periods, as Mike Torchia. Inside 5 to go in the game. Vipers will have a half-minute power play in 20 more seconds as McCoolchuk plays it along the back wall in his own zone. Pass up the boards. Bobby J left all by himself out there. He did a good job to take his man to the boards. Walker loses the handle through center and sent back into the Detroit zone. The power play will begin on an icing call. That's a break for Detroit. As out of the box comes Corvo, and 31 seconds even for the Detroit power play. That's a huge break. Bobby J made a very nice play on Peter Ambrosiak moments ago. Not only is this a good check, but Ambrosiak had one man to beat. It was Bobby J.
I don't know if Bobby J realized the rest of his mates were changing. He went over and took his man one-on-one. If Ambrosiak was able to chip that puck by him even, it's trouble for the Vipers.
Steve Ludzik starting to go to the clipboard now as time begins to wind down. 4:19 to go. Detroit's power play, 1 of 4 tonight, but 12 shots on goal. Savaglia wins the important draw to the right of Torchia. Corvo back to Shaw, touches it over to Savaglia. Not much time for the extra man unit. Fires it in front, and then deflected out of play. Checking that was Simon looking for Savaglia. Todd Simon, one of the many players that was adamant before the game and making sure the game was on TSN all across the country, because I got a lot of people in Toronto, he said. My family especially, they're going to be looking for me tonight. And he is the guy to look for on the Detroit power play.
Savaglia probably telling him that that was a low percentage pass hard across the slot there.
Donnelly misfiring on a one-timer. Savaglia trying to keep it alive down low. McDonald sends it up the board. Shaw kicks it back in, and the puck covered Boy, Denny LaRue could easily call delay a game there, but what it does is kill the penalty. Murphy's time has expired. He's out of the box, and both teams are full strength. Burton plays it way ahead for Shaw at center. Brad Shaw flips it up the boards as the Vipers go in hard after it. Corvo along the corner boards. Has it between his skates, looking for somewhere to kick it to. Doesn't want to just kick it for the sake of kicking it free, but can't get it. To Mongeau. LeBlanc able to get it out. Shaw rifles it back to Simon, who waits for Corvo to get onside, then pitches it back in. Vipers get wholesale changes on the go. 3:15 to go in the hockey game. Near side, Gagnon gets it out of the Fort Wayne zone. Trickles to the Detroit line. Ward able to cover up. It'll roll right on net, and Perrant forced to cover. Back for the stretch run. It's a one-goal hockey game after this. And 7:50. And, of course, if you can't be at the game or join us on the television side, don't forget the radio side. All season long, 11:30 a.m. WDFNI. 3 minutes to go in the game. Vipers down 3-2 as the Komets just trying to keep it alive in the Detroit zone. Bawa does that. Back to Dupuis, who just does keep it deep. No shot, so he just sent it to the corner. LeBlanc and Bobby J battle for it there. Comes ahead for Tardif. He had everybody breaking. Able to lift it ahead. 3-on-2 of the Vipers if they hurry. The trailer Mongeau, his shot deflected on the way and then sent to the corner out of midair. Ward was going hard to the net that time. Back up the wall, the Komets able to clear, and Shaw hinges it back for Brochu. Quick pass misses Ward, but gets deep into the zone. Dupuis behind the net, fires it to the corner, picked off there. Tardif in front, looking for Mongeau, and he was spun around as the deflection came to Bawa. Boy, both teams changing. Vipers nearly got caught as Mongeau's pass was picked off by Duncanson. Shaw reverses it for Dirk. Now 2:05 to go in the game. We'll keep an eye on Rich Perrant for an errant rink-wide pass. He's easily sent back in by Murphy. Robert Dirk back to get it behind the Detroit net. Inside 2 to go. Rushes the puck ahead. Corvo didn't see it, or he couldn't get there once he did. Now Shaw has to come back to play it. Ahead for Savaglia. Stick handling through traffic. Kicks it ahead. Komets sweep it back in, and this is starting to play into Fort Wayne's hands. Perrant plays it away for Shaw. Has pressure, though, from Broughton. Now behind the net for Dirk. Reverses it back down to 1.5 minutes to go in the hockey game. Fort Wayne 3, Detroit 2. Shaw forced to just go off the right wing with it. This one flutters deep into the zone. No icing as Dupuis plays it. Up the wall, Evans comes over and gets it out to center ice. Perrant looking at the Detroit bench as Brochu comes back to get the puck. 1:10 to go in the game. We'll have to play the puck as Bobby J had it knocked away. Vipers making changes. Didn't have anybody to help Bobby J that time. And they get away with it. Bad pass up the near side for Walker that he has to come back to get to. Nobody seems to want to play the puck. And nobody does. Inside a minute to go in the game. Finally Walker collects it. Vipers need to get Perrant out. They can't get out of their own zone right now. Finally to center. Tardif will wheel it in deep to the bench. Perrant, the sixth man, is on. The Detroit net is empty as Bobby J pinches to the corner for Simon. In behind the net. Trying to come around and stuff it is Tardif. Loose in the crease. They bang at it and it comes free for Murphy. Ahead now for LeBlanc, who will just play it up the board. Vipers scored with 19 seconds left in the netminder pulled Friday at Kansas City to force a shootout. And nearly a lucky bounce as it was hammered in up the glass. Shaw keeps it in. Bounces high up the boards. 15 seconds left. Mongeau looking to cut hard to the net. Comes back out to him. Rifles it right on. Save. Torchia rebound. Cleared. And it'll go the length of the ice. Icing will be the call as Shaw touches up. Just 6 seconds remains in the hockey game, though. Donnelly just rifled it across the slot. There was nobody there, but it came off the boards. And Mongeau sent it on net. It appeared to be sticked away by Torchia, and then nobody seemed to know where the rebound was. And a lot of head shaking going on. I think Steve Ludzik will exercise his timeout here.
And there are no rules when the goalie's pulled inside of 30 seconds in hockey. You're right, that puck went to the slot. If a Viper could have gotten loose to that loose puck, anything would have gone at that point. See, as you said, Torchia boxed that one right into the danger zone. Unfortunately, Mongeau couldn't get to that loose puck.
Tardif and Simon were there on the doorstep. Of course, everything hinges now on the face-off. It'll be deep in the Fort Wayne zone. Simon and Savaglia will be out for Detroit. Undoubtedly, Savaglia being Ludzik's first option. I would think Davidson would be John Torchetti's first option here. If Savaglia is thrown from the circle, then you have Simon out there to take the draw as well.
You made a good point earlier in the period about how well Davidson has handled himself in the face-off circle. That's an area that the Vipers usually dominate, led by Pete Savaglia.
How much gum does John Torchetti have in his mouth right now? You heard Tim Shovelday tell us in the second intermission, and other players have mentioned he's very animated, very colorful. And right now, he's very nervous. It is Davidson to oppose Savaglia, circle to the left of Torchia. Vipers will send everyone to the net if they can get it back to Shaw off the draw. They can't. Davidson wins it. Evans throws it behind the net. Donnelly trying to center. He's got it in front. Backhander over top of the net, and the hockey game is over. Well, it wasn't the way they had it planned, but Mike Donnelly nearly circling around on the backhand, able to stuff it home. But Mike Torchia with a monumental effort tonight. 41 saves. As a frustrated Steve Ludzik has a few parting words for Denny LaRue. Well, they knew they were in for a battle tonight. A very short-handed Detroit Hockey Club up against a very game and suddenly revitalized Fort Wayne Hockey Club. And the Komets skate away with a 3-2 victory tonight at the Palace of Auburn Hills.
Extra frustration for Steve Ludzik since his team actually did have the equalizer behind Torchia. He was taken down off the board because of the penalty call. Great goaltending. We've seen enough of that here at the Palace by the visitors.
Ludzik, who usually keeps his emotions to himself, waiting for Denny LaRue as they come off the ice. And he has a few words as the linesmen get in between them. And he's got a few more as they go off. Our final score tonight, the Fort Wayne Komets 3 and the Detroit Vipers 2. Back after this from the Palace of Auburn Hills. Now, speaking of Mike Torchia, time now to take a look at our 3 stars of the game. And our number 3 star of the game is Mike Torchia. 41 save performance. Keep in mind, he saw all but 8 of those in the final 2 periods.
Terrific, and he got stronger and more confident as the game went on.
And of the 33 he saw in the final 40, he made 33 saves. Our number 2 star of the game, I think, had 32 of those shots on goal. It's Mike Donnelly.
We said it earlier, Donnelly's arms are going to be tired. He's cranked up the slap shot so many times. Not just the shots on goal, but he fired wide a lot of times, too.
Yeah, he picked up his second goal of the season as a Viper as well in the process. And our number 1 star of the game, Paul Broughton, leading the team in goals coming into tonight. They're going to need leadership like they got from him tonight if they're going to get back into the playoff hunt and get back into the Central Division race.
Very opportunistic. He scored on both of his good chances. He only had 2 chances. Unlike Donnelly, who had 15, there's the reason he's the number 1 star.
Now, Broughton with 2 goals now has 12 on the season, and he's our number 1 star tonight. As Fort Wayne betters the Vipers, our final score at the Palace, 3-2, the Komets over Detroit. The first meeting this season between these 2 clubs, and we're back with more after this. Take a look now at the final numbers from tonight's game, and they are going to lean heavily towards Detroit's side, becoming a bit of a tendency here at home for this club. They win the stat battle, but they can't seem to win the battle on the big board.
Especially the shots on goal. Fort Wayne going into their defensive posture with 3 shots on goal in the 3rd period. I really have to look at Fort Wayne. They did an excellent job on the faceoffs, in particular in their in their defensive zone, especially in the 3rd period.
Yeah, faceoffs often an overlooked statistic. And while Fort Wayne had the better of those numbers in the 1st period, the Vipers came back. But again, as you mentioned, the key faceoffs down the stretch really able to keep John Torchetti's team on the right side of things. Vipers now get an opportunity to get a little more healthy. They've only got 2 days off, but they'll play again on Friday, and then they play again here Sunday at home. That's not a real heavy schedule considering what it could be. Well, producer Eric Dates and my color analyst Darren Elliott, this is John Aller saying thanks for being with us this evening, and thanks to our viewers on the TSN side of things. This is John Aller saying good night, everybody, and happy holidays.